I'm a professional, ladies and gentlemen. And this is my first video back onto YouTube. You can tell I'm a little nervous. A little nervous. So let me tell you all a story. That's a little too loud. Professional, yes. Let me tell you all a story. Welcome to the Office Hours, by the way. This is a live stream where we talk about Star Citizen. Yeah. And this is the reason why. This is the reason why like I said, I'm a little nervous. This week, I decided it's something I've been rolling around the back of my head for a while, which is to split the channel. It's not something I do lightly, but I got some information for some people who know YouTube's algorithms a little bit better than I do, and they're like, "Yo, you post too much." Which sounds weird, right? You know, post content, post. The algorithm will pick you up. Well, it turns out that YouTube's algorithm is centered around a couple different factors. And one of the major things it wants to do is sit and see where your audience is. It has to pull out all the tags and all the information from your description and everything to sort it to who would like this video. And if you post too often, those robots, the YouTube robots, the algorithm won't pick it up because they'll just move on to the next video of yours and try to sort that as well. And by the time, if you do it, say like daily, like I've done in the past, it can actually hurt the growth of a video. And I noticed this when I posted a video on Starfield lore. Usually any lore, even Starfield lore, would get me 1,000 views, but it still even hasn't crested 1,000 views. So I made the decision to split the videos. So if you're watching this after the fact, there's a new TheAstroPub channel. It's youtube.com/c/TheAstroPubLive. This will be where I post all my gaming content, all my streams, stream highlights, and stuff I produce on my streams in terms of like Star Citizen and gaming related, so things like the Captain's Table. This is where you'll see them. So make sure that you are subscribed, youtube.com/c/TheAstroPubLive. Already like 600 of you have moved over since I've been making the announcement, so that's great. But spread the word out there for anybody who might be interested. If you're watching this right now, please do. Check it out. Well, I am doing well. So, yes. But for those of you who are newer here, who maybe you've never seen me before, you'll notice that if you're watching this after the fact, this is very long. The way that this whole thing sets up is we kind of talk and hang out. So, if you are looking for some background noise, maybe you want to hear someone talk while you're working, maybe you're doing some other stuff, or you're playing some games and stuff like that, and you want to hear some conversations in the background and have me look over the news and stuff like that, make sure that you grab some of the drink. That's, other things. That's what this is for. If you're here for more focused, specific content, I do pull out sections of this content in what I call capsules, small little sections. They'll be posted at least a day after the last content. I'm going to try to space it out by about 2 days early on, because while I would like to see these videos do very well in the new content, I also, in order for me to get back to where I was with the other channel, because the other channel is now called The Astro Historian, which is going to be where my lore stuff is going to be. It's the same channel. It's the same channel most of you all have been subscribed to if you've been subscribed to my content. It's just that will be the lore side. So in order for me to do everything I had on that channel, I need to have watch time. So you watching this video right now means a lot to me. Thank you. You do. I'll pay you at some point, Darj, when I have money and not broke. The icon for Twitch? What do you mean? You mean the chat? Evening there, BGG. BGD. Thank you so much, Richard Sky, for that 66 order. 66 months. Thank you so much for that, Richard Sky, for that tier 1. Shots and cheers. And Mason, thank you so much. Everyone can relax. I've arrived. Thank you for that 16 months there, Mason. Wasn't the Twitch icon brighter a few days ago? I don't remember. Oh, you're talking about my icon. Yeah, no, I've changed the icon. It's now the new icon, which is what's this right here. The new logo. Castro's a teacher. Who's Castro? My name isn't Castro, Omega. It's Paul. Hey, we got a hype train. Hype train going. Thank you so much, Blizzard, for that Prime sub. I'll take monies too. Well, yeah. See, Ramar, I'm paying Darj to do all of this work. What's up for today? So we're going to be talking about the new Reclaimer settlements that were released in Star Citizen, inside Star Citizen. We're also going to talk a little bit about what was the other one we were talking about? The roadmap update, the big one, some cool stuff. And I'm going to pull out some other information that Tree pointed out about the unsung heroes of Star Citizen, the people who don't get a lot of credit because everyone's like, fix the damn game, or where's my ship? You know, and no one really cares about the other stuff. The other stuff is important, and a lot of stuff got really well done, or is just plugging right along in the progress tracker. So, another month down, 27 months, Ash. Thank you so much for that. What's up, gyrating? Anyone able to hear music and not Paul's voice? Never mind. Oh, you started from the very beginning. Okay, yeah, I was muted. I was an idiot. Hey, Jacob. It's 2 in the morning here, and my boy keeps waking, rocking him to sleep. The stream is gonna keep me awake. I hope it as long as you're awake, and keeps your son, your child awake, your child asleep. That's good. It's good. Where's my ship? On ISC, the dev at the end of the video said there might be other derelict settlements to discover in 317.2. Probably not. I mean, as far as we know, there are more reclaimer settlements. Not settlements, wrecks, but not settlements. I think they're going to be doing more settlements in the future. But right now, the reclaimer settlement that they have there's only one that, as far as I know, and it's on Microtech. It's like the river. Like, they're going to do more rivers in the future, but they only had one. How's the 40K content going too? It's slow. I went back to work this week to get a little bit of extra cash to help moderate, proctor some tests. They were done pretty quickly, but like I've been doing a lot of stuff in the revamp. I still got 2 devilfish to finish painting, and then once those are done, all of my current Tau will be finished. Still have other Tau to assemble and paint, but I'm not going to bother with it yet, as that's like more. It's just basically more fire warriors, which might sell those pet kits online or something like that, because I don't really have need for them. Yeah, I might make them as fire warriors instead of breachers, or strike team instead of breachers, because I only have 1 strike team. Then after that, I'm gonna do my Blood Bowl team. They're called the Wincestors. They're the Imperial Nobility team. So, start testing. I don't think we do TAS anymore. Star, STAR. Oh, did you already update it? Hold on. You'll see the magic happen. Hold on. You want to see how the magic happens? Oh no. Boom. And then you get to see Pikachu. Or Brown. Bam! Sudden change. Can I sneak a clue? You can always ask lore questions here. There's nothing wrong with lore questions here. You can do all of the stuff you normally have done in the previous office hours. Nothing is fundamentally changing. It's just all the content is now split between two channels instead of one, because I was already overproducing content. Wincestors, you might rethink that name, as you might be, that might be misunderstood. It's exactly the way it's supposed to be understood. Omega, you get it, then it's definitely supposed to be like that, because Blood Bowl teams are not serious in any way, shape, or form. Wincestors, like Winchesters, but Wincestors. And also the joke about Wincest. How goes the roadmap? We're going to look at it real quickly. Any stealth changes you'd like to see added in 317.2? Let me answer Jockop's question. At the Legionnaire stand at Invictus, they had announcements talking about elite search and rescue training with the Marines. Do we know any more of these? Are they the Navy? They're civilians. Apparently, they're a civilian branch of the military, or a civilian. Yeah, it's probably a civilian branch of the military, or maybe a citizen branch, because civilian's weird. But they're non-military personnel. But they're elite search and rescue crews. Don't look that up, by the way. Do not Google Wincest. You will ruin your search history forever. Because Omega, the name of the team, or the type of team that I'm building, is called Imperial Nobility. So I have to go straight up Borgias and Habsburgs. Rip algorithm. Any stealth changes you'd like to see to 3.17.2? I'd like for them to increase payouts for certain missions. And I'd like them to... I mean, I'd love to see things like more Gen 12 adding is always good. I think the biggest change they could fix is a logout timer. If they could add a logout timer to the game, it would be For those of you who don't know, there's been a lot of, if you follow any PvP content creator, they always complain about logging, because it's a constant thing that happens in not just Star Citizen but many other games. People will do what's called combat logging. They'll get into combat, realize they're going to lose, and just leave. And when they leave, because they can, they'll be able to survive, especially in like survival games. It's a huge problem. So one of the simplest ways to combat it is called a combat timer, where if anyone shoots someone nearby, then you get a timer that's started and you can't log out until that timer's finished. But an even simpler way of doing it is just a logout timer, where no matter where you are, who you are, you have a time that you have to wait until you can fully log out. And if you Alt F4, your character will remain there for the remainder of that time. Usually set it to about a minute or 2 minutes. It's usually not that bad. It's not that intrusive. You barely even notice it. But if you're a combat logger, you will die, because a minute to 2 minutes is a lot of time in combat. You can die pretty quickly if you're not moving. Question, Paul, since CIG is prioritizing Squadron 42, do you think CitizenCon would be like, or would you like to see? We already know what's going to be like. They've said straight up, Chris Roberts has effectively said that CitizenCon this year is going to be very minimal. Oh, my camera's all sorts of messed up. It reset, didn't it? It reset. There we go. Yeah, he says it's going to be minimal. We're not going to see any major updates. There's no like gameplay demo like they usually do, because they're all going to be heads down on things. In fact, we already know that they're heads down on things because they're pulling back on ISCs. For those of you who didn't hear, they're looking to do once a week or once every an ISC or inside Star Citizen every 2 weeks. Not SCL, not Star Citizen, or I'm sorry. My bad. I confuse this. Not ISCs, SCL. Not ISCs, SCLs. Star Citizen Lives, they want to do twice a week. I keep doing that. Twice a month. Not what it usually is. I think some sort of stealth gameplay when handheld and scanners are set up. I think, yeah, there'll definitely stuff like that happen. It's great to see you too, Gyrating Wolper. It's good. Thank you all for hanging out with this new channel for those of you on YouTube. It means a lot to me. To be fair, CIG has way too many acronyms. Yes, they do. But I'll bring up the link because this is something that was posted in my Discord by some members. Oh, Citizen. Okay. This is on Reddit, I think. From Captain Xylo. CIG Community Manager. It's the new Trump filter. Nah, I mean, like, here's the problem. As you can see, I can change it down a little bit, but I have to up the saturation, because if I don't upset the saturation, then I get super, like, grainy in the background. Like, that's normal. That's pure across the board. And you can see the little fuzziness in the background. But if I increase it just a little bit, fuzziness goes away. But I get nice and orangey. No, you know what? I'll show it to you again. It doesn't look perfect. Let me show you. Look at the background. This is its normally. Notice it? Because I do. That's probably the closest I can get to it without it being super bad. All right. All right, so let me blow this up so you can see this. All right, so Captain Xylo. Just curious, what if we made SCL bi-weekly? Which would be a break for, just like me. Which would be a break. Happy Pride, by the way. Break for dev and allow us to allow us our full potential on content planning. Secondarily, what if we rotated SCL with a Let's Play show with our community team? We could play the game with chat and even folks from our player experience team. Thoughts? I'm just thinking out loud on the internet here, folks. Almost like some sort of frontier of Fortnite. It's bi-weekly in the US. It's fortnightly in the UK. That's the answer. Because UK and US English are different. I don't care what the British say. Their English is different from ours, and ours is still English. You won't let us call it Americans, so. Bi-weekly. What's what, Space Goat? I'd be okay with that if they could bump ISC's runtime. They're never going to bump up ISC's runtime. Not going to happen, y'all. One hour is just to leave a city in Star Citizen. Not if you set something up. I would assume that they would set up various activities for them to do during the week. Two proud people separated by a common language. I like that, Jin. But ours is the original. Yours is not even the original English. English wasn't even the original English. Well, I guess bi-weekly is weird because bi-weekly does actually, I think it means every twice a week. Bi-weekly means twice a week, right? It's bi-monthly or every other week or just fortnightly work. Run over streamers. Yes, he might. I'd be okay with the ones we got eliminated where they're watch a dev draw for an hour episodes. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I think that's generally what they're thinking about doing is eliminating a lot of that because that was the big that was the big thing. I was thinking like we're getting interesting stuff, but just stuff that's like no one's gonna watch except for a couple people will be entertained. I love you, Jared, and I know you made that last statement last week where it's just like I want to do things that no one at EA or Activision or anything else like what would do, which is fine, but sometimes there's a reason why they don't do those, and it's because they're boring. Which is not an insult to anybody who works on those. I know myself, I find things that are some very fascinating stuff that nobody watches. But they're filler episodes. They're clip shows. The equivalent of a clip show. I think we'll still see Jaylee and Jared shenanigans. It's just the important thing to remember about this is, and this is one of those things that I emphasize a lot with people who either just started following Star Citizen or may forget about how Star Citizen and how game development works. This isn't you don't know about game development because it's not meant as that. It's more of a lot of people forget about this with game development. Every time Jared and his team have to go find somebody to talk to on SCL or ISC, they're pulling them away from the work they're working on. As somebody who does this semi-professionally, meaning I make money off of this, it takes me for a basic 8-minute video anywhere between 24 and 48 hours of work. Sometimes I can knock it down to about 8 hours if I'm really efficient and it's a topic I really know something about. But even 8 hours, of that 8 hours, maybe an hour or two is spent recording. And about an hour to at least 3 to 4 hours is spent on writing and revising. So if somebody's coming onto ISC or SCL, what they have to do is bring in content that people can watch, which then as often have to be pulled out of the engine. And that engine has to be given to, like one of their cinematic guys. Jared's team has like 1 or 2 people whose little job is to go into the engine and make scenes for ISC. But that person needs to get those builds so that they can pull from. So that's pulling time away from the engine team or from whoever is dealing with that. Anytime anything happens with ISC or SCL, developers are being pulled away from their jobs. And it's just for an hour. No, this kind of thing can take hours. And anytime you're dealing with someone pulling away someone from their job for 3 to 4 hours, if they're working 8 hours a day, they're pretty much done. Especially if you got to bake something, especially if you got to like render something or you got to compile anything, you're just done for the day. You're not going to get anything done that day. So that delays time, and that can delay other people's work or delay the overall work. So it's cool that they show it to us, and obviously we want them to show it to us because we're communicative. But at the same time, it's important to remember whenever you see something that's like, this is a filler episode or this bullshit, it's like, sometimes they literally can't get those people because they're working. Oh, I love it. Their B-roll actor guys are good. They're great. I just wish they'd give us those freaking like camera tools that they have in the editor. Even if they mapped it onto like a drone. I'd love to see a weekly show of Jared following John Crew around. Okay, all of my stuff went well. Okay. Want John Crew around and asking about the Endeavor? I would too, but that would cause John Crew not to do his work. Bi-weekly. Adjective. Bi-weekly done product or cruise every 2 weeks or twice a week. The fuck? English, what the fuck? Seriously. We will not see fast results due to these changes. No, we won't see fast results due to these changes. But to pretend that this doesn't take effort and time is dumb. These things take time and developers away from work. And sometimes they just aren't available. Hey, Zark. There's a way to petition keeping the current Port Olisar and simply adding a new station at least. They're not going to get rid of Port Olisar, y'all. They're going to find something to do with Port Olisar. Even if it costs time and dev hours, they'll do something because it's at this point it's too iconic. Death Trooper, if you let people vote on what ship could be done this year, they'd all say the Javelin. Which makes no sense. No one's gonna want the Javelin. Anyways, let's get on to the topic about the roadmap updates first, or the big one. I'm gonna do a little bit of a capsule for this roadmap update. I don't know if I'll actually publish it or not. This will be the first capsule, so we'll try. Let me pull up all the information. I don't really think there's a lot of drama for this one. There might be some disappointments for ships, but I'm, personally, I'm not one of those guys who's like, the ships are life sort of thing. All right. Besides, there's actually some really good news that you want to hear. All this up. All right. Ships aren't life. Exactly, AstroPub. Loot is life. Loot is life. Question, did you address your new channel and name change yet? I have, but I'll go over it one more time because it's going to come up a lot of times for here. For those of you who don't know, the reason I am doing a new channel name on YouTube. It's called just TheAstroPubLive, but it'll just be TheAstroPub. And the old channel is going to be, is currently called The Astro Historian. Now, for the longest time, I have been letting it roll in the back of my head about making two separate channels because YouTube in general, I know, doesn't like cross-pollination content. So here's an example. You'll see people focus on very specific types of content, lengths, styles of content. One of a new YouTuber I discovered, let me find his name real quick here. Is called Nerbit. I just stumbled upon him. He does nothing but challenge videos, playing a game, doing some specific thing. And he just kind of has fun doing that. Now, if Nerbit just started doing cooking tutorial videos, the algorithm would not know what the fuck to do with him. But if he stopped doing that and started doing, say, Let's Plays of Last of Us or Among Us with other people, that wouldn't vibe because those aren't the same types of videos. Not only would his audience maybe not get it, but but the algorithm would start to sort him into different things, and it would take some time, and it would probably slow down any growth he would have because it'd have to readjust all of the who does this video go to. So me doing things like the Captain's Tables and Office Hours every so often, and then doing, say, a lore video once or twice a week actually would overload the algorithm. Distress bacon. And it would also not allow for more content to be processed properly. So as a result, I was hurting not only growth, but impact. My videos, based off of some simple research, my videos should be, with proper algorithms and doing the things I know I'm doing right, I should be getting closer to 10,000, especially if I look at my other peers, or 5 to 10,000 on a regular basis. And I'm at 3,000 maybe. So I knew there was something going on. I was experiencing a lot of growth thanks to exposure and the popularity of Star Citizen and all sorts of things. But the algorithm was never really catching videos that I put a lot of time and effort into. And I talked with a couple people, and they told me specifically that, yeah, the algorithm takes 3 days to process your videos because it's got to kind of process your tags and your content and figure out who to give it to. As a result, that made me say, I got to pull the trigger. And so I decided to make a new channel for the AstroPub, this kind of content, because I knew that if I wanted to get back to where I was before in terms of monetization and outreach, all that kind of stuff and growth, I could grow that version pretty fast because I already have an install base, which people like to watch long videos, so it works. And it would be a lot more difficult for me to start a lore channel like that. So I just split the two channels. So this current channel that I'm streaming on right now is TheAstroPub. The channel title is TheAstroPubLive, but it's TheAstroPub. And the old channel, which you're probably already subscribed to, is called The Astro Historian. So kind of keeping that branding there. So unless you're huge, then you get priority. Channels like Linus Type Says do videos every day. Yes, they have the ability to. Yeah. Running a pub is where you come and hang out, and a historian is a teacher. That makes, yeah, exactly, Space Code. There's two different types of things. And while people can enjoy both, I like peanut butter and chocolate in my peanut butter, but it's at the same time, the algorithm doesn't know how to process it right. So, and yeah, and even Linus Tech Tips has 10 different channels. There's a reason why, for instance, say, Salty Mike and Space Tomato have two separate channels because their content they do on their main channel is different from the content they do on their secondary channel. Like Tomato does his Launch Equals podcast and does reaction videos on Space Tomato 2 because that's a different types of content versus his main channel, which involves edited videos, all sorts of things like that. So it allows them to do both. Peanut butter and sriracha, that's evil. Silky, that's evil. All right, anyways, without further ado, hopefully that explains some stuff. And I'll put the link in the, for those of you in YouTube land. Boom. There's the link. Go there. I'll have to change some things around here, and I haven't quite finished that, done doing that yet. And I also got to update a bunch of other stuff too. But click that link. Go subscribe if you haven't already done so. All right. With that being said, let me get started with the recording. Hello and welcome to an Office Hours capsule. That's right, capsule.
Weapons free, y'all.
This is a, I'm going to restart that because Silky screwed it up again. Hold on. Oh. Problem is I can't turn off the alerts. It just, something doesn't work properly. Because like I turn off the alerts on like the sound alerts, stuff like that. Like try it right now. Y'all try to the sound alerts. Awesome. Totally makes sense. Appreciate the answer. No problem, Nas. It's going to happen a while and it's going to take a bit for everything to kind of pull back up where they're supposed to be. But the idea is effectively, yeah, so it still works. It should be turned off, but it doesn't.
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
There you go. Go and turn everything off. Turn everything off. I'll turn it back on here in a moment. All right. Go delete that real quick. Move the porn out of that screen. Boop, boop, boop. All right. Hello and welcome to an Office Hours capsule. That's right, capsule. These are small videos that I pull out of my weekly live stream, The Office Hours, which you can follow on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/c/TheAstroPubLive, or come join us live at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub. These little sections are little sections that I record for y'all on YouTube space, to kind of show you what we do here live. As you can see, the chat's there. And so if you want to join us live on Thursdays, come join us there. But for now, let's take a look at some of the changes for the roadmap update as of June 21st, 2022. Come on. All right. So, notable changes for June 22nd, 2022. Well, first off, let's read this, of course. Jake puts a lot of work into this, so it's important to read this. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Every 2 weeks, we accompany the roadmap update with a brief explanatory note to give you an insight into the decision-making that led to any changes. This is part of an effort to make our communications more transparent, more specific, and more insightful for all of you who help make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into this week's roadmap roundup. CIJ Community Team. Notable changes for June 22nd, 2022. Release view. The following cards have been added to the release view as well as marked as committed. Colonialism Outposts Derelict. The implementation of derelict outpost locations throughout Stanton with a colonialism theme. These locations will launch with missions, loot, and hostile AI encounters. This feature has been added to Alpha 317 column and is targeted for delivery in Q2 in 317.2. AI dropships and reinforcements. Enabling AI ships to land and deliver reinforcements on non-structured ground areas, such as planetary terrain, where the predefined landing area and assistance from air traffic control is not available. This feature has been added to the Alpha 317 column and is targeted delivery in Q2 in 317.2. Those are big deals because those are both release views. We've seen a little bit about this in the previous monthly reports. But for those of you who don't know, the colonialism outposts were ones that were supposed to be saved for Pyro. So they're adding derelict versions of this, which is effectively ruins, which is really cool, to 317.2. And they're adding dropships and reinforcements. This means that AI can then call in reinforcements. They'll come down in dropships. hop out of their seats, and then disembark from the dropships. Now, these have been both leaked in the past as part of the Evocati tests, but now this is confirmed that they've added it to this. Doesn't mean it's coming in necessarily, but this is a big one because they're using the nav mesh right away. They're just jumping right into it and are giving us content which is supposed to be dedicated to Pyro, which is both good and bad news. It means that they're willing to test some of this stuff out, but it also means that may not expect Pyro to come out this year. We'll see. Anything could be happening and anything could be possible, but that's what it is. But that's the release view. That's usually stuff that they're more confirmed and more committed to getting out there. Let's look at the progress tracker updates. The following deliverable has been added to the progress tracker. Asteroid facilities. Adding new asteroid facilities to the persistent universe. Handcrafted traversable areas offering different gameplay opportunities both in the interior and exterior of asteroids. This deliverable has been added to the EU Sandbox team's schedule. This is cool because what this tells me, they say handcrafted, but I don't think we're going to see this as handcrafted as, say, Grimhex. I think these are going to be handcrafted in the same way that stations are handcrafted. Those of you who don't know, stations are all procedural. So you have a procedurally generated station, which they go in and then handcraft things around and make things up. But they're kind of like Lego blocks. They take similar things and put them together. They do the same thing with the bunkers. You'll notice that most of the bunkers are built the same way, but just different layouts of that same general design. And we also know that they're working on updating that to add more variations and flares for the bunkers. But it works the same way. This means we're going to see possibly asteroid facilities as bunkers, maybe asteroid facilities as stations, which would be cool for places like Nyx, which have big asteroid belts, which would be nice points of interest. This definitely moves towards points of interest for things like Pyro and Nyx, but also for points of interest for places like the Aaron Halo belt, which is in Stanton. So this is all pretty cool stuff. Of course, progress tracker just means that they're going to look at it and start working on it. It's not committed for anything. Now, here's where we get to the downer part of the video. Due to a shift in priority for vehicle concept art team, both to await specific systems coming online, as well as additional resources needed on other upcoming vehicles, the following deliverables have been temporarily removed from the progress tracker until additional resources are allocated. The RSI Orion, the Misc B, the Misc D, the Misc E, and Crusader Genesis Starliner. Pour one out. Pouring out for the homies. Sad, but expected. The whole B and D and E don't make a lot of sense to be made until the whole C is finished, and we don't even know when the whole C is coming out. The Orion and the Starliner both are requiring such massive numbers of NPCs or players that, yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm not terribly ruined about this, but it definitely is it's a bummer to see that. But to cheer your spirits up a little bit, here's a little bit of something else. Tree 0311, who you should catch on the Pathfinders podcast. He's been on the Star Citizen podcast in the past. He'll also be on a future Captain Stable as well. But he brought this to my attention as well, and he'll probably break it down in the Pathfinders as well. Let me show you all this. So here's some cool things that they don't tell you about. Little secrets, little insider knowledge for you. RSI Apollo got moved up. Its start date is July. It's still going to take 35 weeks, so that's probably doesn't mean that we're going to see the RSI Apollo this year. That's still probably, 35 weeks? Like 32 weeks in a year, I believe. So it still looks like next year, but it got moved up from where it used to be. So, and it's a U.S. vehicle team. So, there we go. The Apollo has been moved up. That's probably part of that reprioritization. Apollo makes a lot more sense in the current game of Star Citizen than the whole E does, or the Orion. Which, I know, sad for people who want those things, but Apollo. Then here is Bounty Hunter V2. So, I made this post where I'm like, there's no way the Bounty Hunter V2 is going to come in. And I got chastised by a lot of people, including Jake, who reminded me that just because it's on the roadmap or on the progress tracker and it has, say, a ton of time, doesn't mean it's done. In this case, most of the major work finishes sometime in November, and the USPU team continues on. If you look at other aspects of the progress tracker, you see similar stuff being worked on. Like the inventory system is still being worked on according to the progress tracker, but it's done. It's been out for a year almost. So, well, not a year, I guess 6 months now. So you can see that this looks like it's looking to wrap up towards the end of this year, which is good. And then here is the big stuff. This is the stuff that's the unsung heroes of Star Citizen, the SST team. The NPC tracker service tracks and records the actions of players and NPCs. In turn, bounty hunting gameplay will use this service to expose the actions taken by outlaws so that they can be tracked by bounty hunters. This finishes in Q1 2022. It was already finished. According to this, the sprint was already finished, which kind of adds a little bit more influence to this, where you can see here they're wrapping up some more work here towards the end of the year. And of course, the virtual AI service, a service that drives the logic of virtual AI, the go between subsumption AI and quanta AI. This is a big one too, because subsumption AI is what we see in game, and quanta AI is what we're seeing with the quantum system. The virtual AI is the go-between. They showed that off in last CitizenCon, I believe. So the fact that this is being worked on and its current sprint ends in August is a big deal. It means that they're chugging right along towards building that more complete experience with quantum, that I would kind of bracket as the quantum experience, the full dynamic economy and dynamic game of Star Citizen, which falls in line with a lot of the other stuff they've been working on as well. So that's what we got for this roadmap roundup. Some sad news if you're a Hull fan or an Orion fan or a Starliner fan. I'm sorry, Jared, I'm sure it breaks your heart. But good news if you're an FPS fan, if you're looking forward to its bounty hunting, and you're looking forward to more dynamic AI interaction. So all of those things seem to be trucking along as well. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you enjoyed this little snippet, please come join us live on Thursdays. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Brand new channel, same content, brand new channel. As I've been saying before, we kind of split the channel off. So the old channel is now the Astro Historian. So you can find all my lore content there. And this new channel, the AstroPub, just like my last one, or youtube.com/c/TheAstroPubLive, is where you can find all this content in the near future. Love to see you come by live, and of course, join these wonderful folks who've been supporting me this entire time. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. All right, there we go. Fat man. I wish we had a bullets stripping from mags as well. Oh yeah, I really. Whew. Oh yeah, it was the other thing is I saw in some of the leaks was that they're doing now that when you unload a empty magazine, you drop it. So that's nice. Has anyone checked on Tree to make sure he's not hyperventilating? I'm sure he's going to hang out here shortly. I know. Jin, with the capsule content, what I do is I keep it on here while it's recording, and so they can get the background music in the after and in the exit. I don't do the exit live. I put it in an editor because it's usually less than 10 minutes, and that's no problem for my my stuff. Let me see what the length is. 11 minutes, so it's fine. How you doing, Axis? Welcome. Yeah, sorting through mags is a nightmare. The two things I'd really, two quality of life increases do wonders for this game for FPS. Is bullets loading into mags, and energy weapons recharging. So what is Quanta AI exactly? I've heard it mentioned a few times, but I don't know anything about it. Okay, so the basic gist of how Quanta works is that the quantum system is a giant probability machine. It produces simulations of the universe itself. It populates actors which have specific traits and then sends those actors out into the universe. But unlike, say, a typical game, this will send out hundreds, thousands, millions of actors across a simulated verse. Those actors are all producing actions, and each of those actions will then influence specific parts of the game. So for instance, if a bunch of AI are buying a very specific product from a very specific location, that location's inventory is going to go down, and the price for selling it is going to go up. The price to buy it is going to go up because it's high in demand. So on the player side, you will see the prices go up on that area, which means that if you have that product and you want to sell it at the location or sell it to that location, you might get some good money because there's a high demand for it. So this also will impact mission availability and resources and such. So it's the economy, missions, and resources are the big parts that hit Quantum. It is the economy simulation, as they used to call it. The virtual AI is a go-between between an actual physical AI on the simulation server, which is it's called the subsumption AI. Virtual AI is a separate service which gives that AI that was a Quanta that was turned into a subsumption AI a name, some more detailed backstory, and lets them explore a virtual simulated universe, effectively its own server. And if it doesn't run into anything, eventually it'll turn back into a Quanta, or you'll start running it into the players. So when quantums get pulled out of what's called the probability volume, where like you have a chance to run into a pirate in this area, boom, you run into this pirate. That pirate then kills you. That pirate doesn't disappear because that pirate had to become something from just a possible calculation to an actual game entity. And so it gets populated as an actual game entity, and then they want to keep that around to create interesting stories. I'd say store all, strip all, move all FPS. Those would be good, but those would be temporary solutions because they eventually do want to be able for you to be able to load and charge your mags to like kind of get them returned. So I wouldn't want them to do anything that would put more work into it they don't have to. No problem, tech. Sell all button would be nice. Yes, being able to sell all stacked items would be nice. It's the AI preparing to turn into Quanta Butterfly from its subsumption larva form. Yeah. It's actually the opposite. Slow Night? Sort of, Axis, since we're doing a new channel. Normally people will get notifications because, but this is the first stream on the new channel, so a lot of people won't get the notifications. I'm hoping that more people find out a little bit about it because I posted it a social channel, socially on my on the Astro Historian. So, but we're going to have lower numbers in general with this new channel for a while. It's going to take a bit for the numbers to come up because people will realize it exists. Hey, Odysseus, sorry about that. Hey, Astro, I saw your tweet about the QA tester who lost his job for sending workers, which seems to have happened in Austin. This is a specific management issue with the Austin studio. We already had controversy with the alleged mismanagement during last year's cold snap. Would like this new episode... Would this new episode make the Kotaku article more credible and with a background of truth? Possibly. I have talked with other people who work at CIG Austin, and they all said that nobody... or like they have never experienced anyone telling them they had to come into work. They've never been forced to come into work because it's important to remember that at CIG Austin, well, let me give some context for people who don't know. There was a a LinkedIn post made by a former CIG QA developer who'd been working for the company for 6 months, who said he was fired for for refusing to come into the office. Even though, you know, he talked about the cost of living increases, some people having to drive 60 miles away, and obviously with COVID still happening and those sorts of things. So he was saying, you know, I got fired for standing up and saying this was wrong. And obviously, whenever something like that happens, you go, there's two sides to every story. And if you look at a lot of his information, he'd been there for 6 months, hired during the pandemic. There usually isn't, like, usually even in CIG, you don't see people get fired very quickly. They seem to be very hesitant to fire people based off their history. History of kind of stuff. So, and they've just hired a ton of people. So it could have easily been something more along the lines of just didn't work with company culture, or other things didn't work well, and this just kind of became the straw that broke the camel's back, the reason why they could quit. And he just wanted to stand up and make himself look good, so he didn't look as bad for his next employer. That could be true. Because it's also important to note that the Austin CIG office is tiny. It is very small. I don't know how many employees they have, but I've talked with employees at CIG Austin who said they have to share desks. They have to schedule time to come into the office itself. So the idea that a QA tester would get fired for not coming into the office, which already doesn't have any space, seems odd. And it doesn't seem to match up with anybody who I've talked to. However, I wouldn't be surprised if a manager said, you need to come in because I need you here in the office today to test this out. And that just kind of happened. So yeah, does it make it more legitimate? Possibly. I don't know no one told us who it was never told in the Kotaku article who was what department that person who they talked to was. It still didn't seem about right. But I always said that with that article, was like, it seems like I could believe that a manager who wasn't in Austin flippantly said something, not realizing what was going on, because a lot of people didn't know what was going on, and somebody who was overstressed took it the wrong way and then struck out about it. So, use Chris Roberts all the whole time. Yeah. CIG said recently they need to expand their offices, accommodate with their all recent hires. They do. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more context there, Odysseus. But effectively, I'm taking the same stance as I did with the other one, which is I could believe that something like this could have happened. Someone saying you got to come in and someone saying no. I wouldn't be surprised, knowing especially people who live in Austin and tech people who live in Austin, that some people have a martyr complex and decide to just die on the cross, rather than, the reality being you just didn't work well with the company. So it's hard to tell. But at the same time, CIG is draconian with a lot of its rules, because CIG is 100% been against remote working for a very long time, and they're trying to get better at it. I did talk to some CIG employees at the Bar Citizen who said that they're getting 40 hours a month, of flex time for working from home. So they can, if they're not feeling good or they just want to stay at home that day, they can use some of their flex time to work from home. And I think that's hybrid for at least the department, one of the departments, possibly all of the departments, but that may not be implemented yet. So that's another kind of thing that says that seems weird. But I do think that because CIG's stance has been very anti-remote work, that that CIG could have done that. And frankly, that's bad. Get with the times, CIG. I get you want people to be in offices, but especially considering the current situation with the inflation, with your offices and everything, offering people to do more, especially if someone who's been hired or been working for you for a while, offering those people remote continuing to remote is the least you could do. So, and we'll never get information about that because this is something to do between that person and CIG HR, and HR won't. It just won't make any sense for them to talk about that. Yeah, I get that the work in the office is ultimately better for CIG, but at the same time, you especially with an employee who currently work for you, does it make sense to try to accommodate somebody who's already working for you, who's already been integrated into your system, or to piss them off because you don't want to let them work remote? Yeah, that's been my experience as well. Exactly. No, sir, is correct. Never underestimate the capacity of management to make bad calls or throw individual employees under the bus, regardless of company. Yeah. At the end of the day, a company is a company. This could have been a situation of a one-off where CIG just fucked up. You know, the supervisor and the employee just did not get along from day one, and they were never going to get along. And this was just going to happen before, whether or not, you know, it's going to happen a year from now, 2 years from now, doesn't matter. Could be a situation where that employee was completely in the right and CIG just bumbled it. It could be the opposite true. It could also be that an employee just was letting it boil up and getting angry and not expressing themselves, and then they just blew up at a supervisor, and the supervisor's like, what the hell was that about? And fired them. So as long as they have a good cybersecurity team helping them work from home, that's true. So from Frankfurt said in May, Belgian convention that they'll move late May in Belgium convention they'll move, if all things go well, around August, September, same period for Frankfurt offices. Yeah, that sounds about right. If you saw the ISC today, they're already putting up the walls, which means that I've been following some of Jared's tweets, and they've been installing cat cables and stuff like that. So they're in the final stages. Question, how delayed is the move into the Manchester offices? How much was mentioned last year I expected being by now? August to September, as Odysseus said. Get anything built during a pandemic is a miracle. They're running wire, yeah. They're no longer building the frame. Last time we saw them, they were still framing the fucking offices. Bottom line is the company hired you, not the other way around. You don't do what you're told. You get fired. Why have we moved away from that? I'm sure programmers are respectable. Draven, it's also a balancing act. As someone who has family who both my mom and dad ran businesses, there comes to a time when you're like, is it worth it to get an employee who's good at what they do, to get them to quit because of a minor inconvenience? Because if somebody has been working for 6 months, usually people suss out, anyone who's been in any kind of job can usually tell within the first couple of months if someone's going to be good for the job. People can also, the job demands, all sorts of things like that. At the end of the day, however, you're putting a lot of time and effort hiring, training, and integrating somebody into your team, especially for something like QA, which is, obviously not as complicated as programming, but it's still difficult. And you're going to want to do your best not to lose all that investment of time, because if you just fire that person, in Texas, you have that right, because this is Texas. Now you have to hire a new person to replace them. And that's going to take another 6 months to get them back up. So you've just lost 6 months of progress with one employee. Is it worth the money and time you invested in them? That's the question. That's why they have people resources departments now. Yeah, most people can spot them pretty quickly. Like, especially if you're a veteran, like as a teacher, I can spot somebody a new teacher, if they're going to make it or not within a couple of days, because it's very easy. Stuff gets out of hand. It's a pain in the ass to find talent to cut someone that quick off of issues to show have to show up already. Exactly. Yeah. I'm a programmer. I work from home for almost 3 years now. Never had any troubles. Yeah, that's good. That's my point, Darth Revens, is that like it's not just CIG. CIG is better at it than other companies, but you know, other companies are worse. But working from home isn't as complicated as it used to be. In fact, like I've said before, I talked with somebody who worked for Amazon or for Twitch here in Austin at the Twitch offices in Austin, and I asked because I was talking to him like, "Hey, do you guys do tours?" And he laughed. He said, "No, we don't have an office." And I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, we actually just once a week we do a meeting in the Amazon offices where we get together and we talk. And we do our things because they do more of the technical stuff here in Austin, and then we all work from home. So they usually do meetings once or twice at a specific like office assembly area in the Amazon campus here in Austin. And that was like 4 years ago. So if Twitch can do it, I think CIG can do it. I think that's more of a stereotype, Exeneer, that the younger generations wants everything in reward for nothing. It's more of a stereotype. It's just there's a lot more work to be done now, or there's a lot more work asked than there has been in the past, and there's a lot less protections for most employees. So a lot of people get, you know, like for instance, a job of a teacher is now a lot harder than it was when, you know, 10 years ago. Or, you know, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, when I've been doing this for 10 years, it's gotten harder because of the demands that have been asked, the hours, all that sorts of things. So I can only imagine that doing other things, other things, parts of, you know, similar industries. Yeah, and that's the other truth is I've never been in an industry where I haven't seen people do absolutely the least amount of work for the maximum amount of pay. Even older generations. Oh, you can't teach kids remotely. You can't. I mean, you can. Some kids thrive off of that, but it's so difficult. I do agree that if you have multiple artists and devs working in the same thing, it's beneficial to be in the same room. Yeah, I can see that. It's more of a situation of like, should it happen? Probably not. Not for every role, but especially if you've been working with somebody and they've been effective, you try not to fire them. So that's another thing. Working hard, hardly working, Mac. Yeah, people just want to get what they're owed. A great example of that is we got way off topic. Welcome to the office hours, where this kind of stuff happens all the time. We're going to go off of tangents. We'll talk about the reclaimer here in a moment. But my brother-in-law, he builds cell phone towers. He doesn't build cell phone towers specifically. He builds the specific anchors for cell phone towers using metal. They weld these metal grids together, and then they take these grids out and they bury them, and then they install cell phone towers off. The company he works for is one of like 6 in the entire U.S. And he's the number 1 employee at his job. He does something which is making the people who are installing these phones billions of dollars. He gets paid less than $20 an hour for hard, back-breaking work, which he's really good at. Now, granted, where he lives, there's a lower standard of living. But even in that area, $20 an hour is like upper lower class, like not great. So that kind of thing happens a lot, where you'll see people who are getting effectively taken advantage of by their employers, which, you know, in the best case scenarios, they go, yeah, I'm getting taken advantage of. I'm going to go find another employer, negotiate my prices. But it's difficult to do that. Oh, no. In Tennessee? No. A union in the South? Sir. The only generation scenarios that holds up is that there will always be at least one older person in the room saying that the younger generations are entitled or lazy. Literally older than the written language. We have records from the Romans that say stuff like that. Every old generation thinks that the youngest generation is the last generation because everything's going to fall apart after they're gone. Every generation, historical, and every culture thinks this. From the Aztecs to the Chinese to the Ethiopians to the Romans to the Celts. We're not getting into that discussion, Mac. Did not hear. They've seen both sides. My father owned a restaurant, and basically the union. And my dad likes to say that the union destroyed his restaurant, and I have to remind him that no, Dad, you destroyed your restaurant. The union just helped because he overextended too fast. Because he even admits that he overextended too fast. But it was around the time the union was demanding higher wages, and he was negotiating with the union and trying to get things done, but he had overtaxed himself and did dumb shit, so he wasn't able to fully extend it. So it's never as clean and simple as any one dogmatic belief will have you believe. But sometimes there's a little bit more truth on other ends. Did anyone decode the Banu letter? Yes! Let's go over that real quickly, because actually it's a cool thing. Let's do that. Talk about that. Let's talk about that. What am I doing? Creatures this year, possibly, Paul. Maybe at the end of the year. Maybe. Big maybe. Depends on what your animation team's looking at. Downloads. There we go. So this is from Pseudonick. Go subscribe to him on Twitch. Follow him and subscribe to him on Twitch. This is what he translated. So, this is the letter from the Banu. This is from the Zona, Banu Defense Organization, will protect you. This is an advertisement. Greetings. If you're reading this in Stanton, protection will be needed. The Zona are prepared to protect you. They defend all Banu. We are the strongest. Our ships are advanced and can destroy anything even without a skilled pilot. Our services is very special, but our contract states we only get paid if the majority survive. Security can be lucrative, therefore many have rallied who are skilled. I love how Banu translates. That is literally how Banu translates. It's hard to, you can't translate it literally. You have to translate it, or you have to translate it literally. It's hard to translate it in the original, like grammatically. This is so Banu. To give you a context, this is they're saying we are the strongest as an ad pitch. And they say, we're so good. Our ships are so advanced. Even our worst pilot can do the job. And don't worry, we're only going to get paid if most of you survive. The little, I'm going to crawl out of this contract if I have to situation. Think you don't need protection if you stick together? Not true. There is a human organization called Xenothreat, which is the second mention of Xenothreat. The first letter from the Xi'an was also mentioned, basically a warning about Xenothreat. And this is effectively about Xenothreat as well, but from the Banu perspective. To mean threaten foreigners. They hate aliens, and we are their target. The focus of Xenothreat is Banu outsiders. If you are Banu, Xenothreat will attack you without hesitation. Hate and malice. They refer to us as them. Even if you have nothing in your cargo storage, they will threaten you nonetheless. Xenothreat humans are not rational. But if you have a contract with the Zona, then the Xenothreat comes at you, Banu defense will defend you, and your crew's prosperity will continue without an end and be benefit to all. I know, this is the second mention of Xenothreat. I wonder if we're going to see more stuff about Xenothreat in the near future. What if we already have a Terran or Casa in order to receive protection during travel? That is good. The Zona receives the benefit of your faith and will protect us, and it will protect us. Oh, I think those are Terran Casa. Those are two gods, luck and trade. The god luck and trade. Your faith will protect us. This is fortunate because being skilled at defense, it will make the Zona very strong. Hurrah! Faith gives us a cause and celebration. This promises the benefit all Banu ships. But what if we paid our dues to the gods? Well, then we'll fight even harder because the gods will back us. Isn't our ship enough for the strongest protection? That belief is flawed, my friend. Xenothreat is stronger than all of you. Everyone knows about their many Idris. They are well armed. To them, victory is not important. They would die if it means death of you. War is coming. A lot of help is being requested. If they engage Banu defense, we'll fight them for you. Therefore, your weapons are valuable. Be confident in this. Right now, when the Xenothreat launches between systems, that is real. Dealing with us is less expensive than rebuilding. When Xenothreat kill Banu, the Zona come. Continuing to trade can be less expensive than seeking us out. But having reliable strength, even if fighting is not needed, is better. The Zona will do battle for you. Count on it. This is so bad I wouldn't buy a pack of gum from them. This is the least shitty Banu, all right? This is like the least shitty Banu in the verse. This is like, they'll probably protect you. Like, you've got a 95% chance that they're on the up and up. No, this isn't cargo insurance. This is a defense contract. The Zona are a merc group that are trying they're a defense Suli, who are there to help protect you. It's so good. It's so Banu. It's great. So you should should you request human protection against Xenothreat? This is my favorite part. Not recommended. Humans dislike and will protect themselves against Xenothreat, who are also human. The human civilian defense force will come help you as much as possible, free of charge. How good can it be if it's free? The shade! Oh, gosh. I could fall asleep under that shade. Oh, mwah, mwah. Oh, calling the CDF budget rate rent-a-cops. You go to Zona. These idiots are free. They give it a free. They're worse than whores. They're sluts. That's the kind of like absolute horrible status that these people are pulling. Absolute garbage take, and I love it. Not even free a cop. Yeah, it's that sort of like. And the reason why I'm saying not because it's good, but because this is the Banu. Like, this is their culture. They are literally not literally. Let's say they're almost certainly a hyper satire of capitalism. Like it's brilliant of like rampant uncontrolled capitalism. It's great. It's great. Hyper mercantile. Yeah. And they're our best allies too. They will throw down for everything. They will help us no matter what. This is our fucking allies. We just met But if you're in Stanton, contract with the Zona very soon. It is the right thing. All of us conduct business quite prosperously. Suli belonged to all prosperity before this. It is dangerous. Like, see, that's the great part. It's like, so like to the Banu, a Suli is literally a family. There is no structure higher or lower than Suli. Suli is Suli. Right? But to join a Suli means joining a family, but you're going to try to screw everyone out of as much as possible. Like, you want to screw over, if you're joining a Suli, you want to screw over the Esso Suli because you want the best rates. You want to have good money, the best credits, anything you like, all the like get confirmation, like get your name in bold on the title sequence or whatever. You want the best of the best. And the Esso Suli is trying to screw you over with the worst of the worst. Like, they're trying to absolutely screw you over while getting all of your work for as free as possible. But once you're part of that Suli, it's like, ride or die, 100%. to the death sort of situation. Yeah, the Esso Suli may have screwed you over, but he's your dad. He's not just your dad, he's your father. He's your daddy. You will listen. Well, they don't have gender, so, you know, or sex. So, well, they do have sex, just not that kind of sex. Just so great. Hey, Escobar. I want to join the Zona instead of CDF. I bet they pay better. For lifetime contracts, maybe. They pollinate. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. So the Banu do have sex for reproduction, possibly for pleasure. I don't know. But the Banu do not have a scientific sex. There's no male Banu and female Banu. Both Banu can, all Banu can both get pregnant or get another Banu pregnant. So as a result, they have no gender. Gender is a concept they understand because they've interacted with species with gender, but they themselves don't have gender. So their language, for instance, does not have male or female, like at all, referenced. So they're kind of like worms, but in the sense that I don't think they can self-reproduce like worms can. There has to be another Banu involved. Banu Merchantman does have a sex pit included. That's true. Yeah, it is like the second you join a Suli, you like Sulis. The closest example in terms of memes that I can pull is the crew from Fast and the Furious. They are a Suli. Yes, they are a crew, but it's all about family, Dom. It's all about family. I don't know that series. All I know is that crew is incredibly tight. So, and the joke about or Dom being about family. Are we all just worms with extra bits? Ain't that the truth? So is Lore Daddy a lore Suli? I am the Esso Suli of spaceship lore. I'm the Esso Suli of history. Which is a joke, by the way. Because the Banu do not actually have history. They don't record history. They don't need to. Yeah, there's Space Mafia. They're called syndicates, but yeah, they exist. They're Space Gumby. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Are they trees? They're not trees. No, they look like trees, just because that was kind of the original reference. But I think if you look at them, the more refined references they've gone over the time, they're much more akin to like living sentient, like coral. I think is the references, the coral and like reptiles. The history is their family tree. Yeah. Question: Has there been a swing towards making the Banu more spiritual in the past? In the past, I got the impression there's more Pat the Lucky Cat for fortune, but descriptions recently have been more pious. There's always been the pious nature. There is a group of Banu who live on what is possibly their home planet. I can't remember the name of it. That are isolated from all of their Banu, and their job is to advise and help craft laws for the rest of Banu society, because they're completely isolated from other Banu society. As a result, they're a little bit better at being like kind of detached from any other connections. And so their job is, they're kind of like a group of monks, spiritually removed, dedicated to the gods. Bacchus, I think it's the name. Yeah. But if they're coral, could they be sponges? They could be. I don't know if they're coral, but if you look at their designs, their skin tends to be more purple. And if you look at the like kind of the purple and blues into it, it reminds me of coral reefs and that kind of thing. So no sex pits for the Banu monks. They're the dude, bathrooms and all, yeah. Wish we could see more of the Ortoni Syndicate in the game instead of all the NPC baddies slowly become Ninetales. Well, I mean, you have. I just wish we see more. I agree. I wish we see more of it. Because the Ortoni Syndicate, for those of you who don't know, is Ticia. Ticia Pacheco is the leader of the Ortoni Syndicate in Stanton. How many years until we see Daniel in the verse? Minimum 2. Minimum 2. They got to get the AIs working better before they can start working on that kind of stuff. Questions. How many alien races are there in Star Citizen, and are there any more manufacturers missing? This is asked a lot, because especially since it's Alien Week, but I will tell you that there is a little bit difference between when you say aliens, because it's always going to be brought up, what you mean is sapient species, technologically advanced sapient species. That's usually what people mean when they mean aliens, because there are aliens. The pyrocrab is an alien, boreal stalker, the storm wall, the space whale, the xyphopod, the blind oni crab, the space cow, the Kazi grazer. Those are all aliens. They're not human creatures, or not creatures from Earth, but they're not sapient. They don't, that kind of thing. So right now there are the Tavaran, the Banu, the Xi'an, the Vandul, and the Kurthok. Now the Kurthok are the mythical 5th species that we have not met yet, that are in constant war with the Xi'an. But they live on the other side of Xi'an space. So we don't know how far that away that is from us, but we do know that the Xi'an stopped advancing about 1,000 years ago. They stopped advancing, 2,000 years ago in their time. Around the 15th century AD. They stopped moving anywhere towards Kurthok space and actually reversed and went the opposite direction in terms of their expansion, which eventually ran them to us, the Banu, and the Vandul. So that's how they ran into us, was because they reversed from Kurthok space. So we're not even far away from Kurthok space. It's on the other side of Xi'an space, which we have no idea how far that is. It could be hundreds or thousands of worlds away, or thousands of systems away. Yeah, spacefaring sapiens. There's also, there's the Osoian species, which is kind of I believe they communicate through sense and glowing on their bodies. And there's a couple of other species out there which are possibly advancing towards civilizations, which are under protections. You think we might meet Sidesians at some point? I think we might meet a preserved Hadesian, someone who's survived, but it's been millions of years since the Hadesians went extinct. Literally millions, like 34 million years ago is when they went extinct, before even recorded Gian history existed. They're that ancient. Which of those do we think we'll see in the verse first? Vanduul. Because the Vanduul are already done. But they're only in Squadron. And I say done, I mean they've got the animations, they've got the movements and everything, but they're fine-tuning their attacks and their AI architecture. But the Vanduul are at the same state as like modern Ninetales animators are, animations and AI is. Oh yeah, there's I forgot. There's that battle between the sea creatures and the land creatures. I keep forgetting about that place. Do you think hypersleep would be needed for prolonged travel? Depends. The Xians live for thousands of years, or at least hundreds of years, possibly 1,000 years. So if Xian lived that long, yeah, like a 20-year journey through their space would be like a year journey to us. Yeah, long, but not inconvenient. So many beers ago. Yeah. I wonder how many different planets are going to fit in our into our SSDs. They'll get two things will happen. One, the optimization is going to lower the cost of everything in game. And two, a lot of the stuff is going to be moved off of requiring the client to be able to handle everything and move towards more, back-end services, which will reduce some of the memory that we currently have in our machines. I'm fairly certain some of that is there. And when that happens, we will see a more optimization of a lot of like more space for memory. But that's going to quickly be added up when they add more content. So I wouldn't be surprised if Star Citizen ends up at about 100 gigabytes of space, at least. Yeah, a terabyte SSD should be enough. I would be surprised if it went over 200 megabytes. Like a minimum 150 gigabytes, possibly. I think between 70 and 100 is a good solid guess. Because we don't know how much of the space that currently exists is for things like shaders. I remember the absurdly high cost of the audio files for Titanfall 2 was nuts. Like it was like 300 gigabytes. It was like, yeah, 300. It was some ridiculous, like 30 gigabytes or like 100 gigabytes just for the audio files, and then it got kind of shrunk down, something like that. Yeah, there's the other example, Freelancer rivets, where like the Freelancer took the same cost in terms of memory as the Bangle, the original Freelancer, because they rendered every rivet. That's one of the reasons why, if you're wondering why Star Citizen's so big on your SSD, blame AMAstar. Because AMAstar is probably one of the reasons why it's like that big. Hey, Matty B, how you doing? Oh, and of course, I didn't see that Sli-Fi gave out 5 community subs. Sli-Fi, you absolute monster. Thank you for giving those subs out. Thank for you who are watching on YouTube as well, because you're some of the first to watch on the brand new channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. Good, sir. I'm doing good. We just launched. I just split my YouTube channels into 2 channels. So one of my channels is currently now the lore channel, and the other channel is, which is the new channel, is now the TheAstroPub YouTube. YouTube.com/C/TheAstroPubLive. By the time it comes out, it'll be NVMe minimum for the SSD, possibly. Because Star Citizen could come out by the end of this decade, or it could come out by the heat death of the universe. Who the hell knows? Though I always like the counter of Star Citizen will never come out, and that's okay. Every year it's 2 years away. Truly, yeah, true, and it's never finished. Will there be a 1.0 release, a live 1.0 release? For sure. I don't know when, but it will happen. Hey, Treesen, question for you. We don't know if, I don't know if you discussed it yet. Do we know who's funding the Nine Tails? They seem to have a lot of personnel and material for a few revenue sources. You ready for this? There's no hard, firm evidence for this. But you are, or you did, all of you. Did you participate in the first Jumptown Wars? Did you? Guess who owns Jumptown? And owns the only place where you could sell it. You created this monster. That's the only thing I can pull together. It's like, oh, this is a lot of resources. It's like, well, where did all these resources come? Well, when did the Nine Tails start showing up? Oh, right around Jumptown Wars 1. That was, oh, geez. Oh, God. Well, crap. Because before that, if you remember, the places that we used to go fight the NPCs, they wore the was at Korea, and they wore the Nova Riders uniforms. So if we're going based off of the uniforms, the Nova Riders were a pretty big presence in Stanton. They no longer exist in Stanton because something pumped the Nine Tails up, and the only thing that seems to work out in lore is the Jumptown Wars happen. Question, how are the ship waifus coming along? I've been dying to see the new art. The new one, I got to talk with the artist that just is finishing up. I think I've already paid them for it. I don't have any cash on hand to pay for more right now. I'll have some more in the beginning of the month. But I'm also doing updates to the channel for a bunch of other stuff and paid Darj to help me out. It's coming along. And the next one's going to be the Saber. So, looks good. Looks good. What happened to the Nova Riders? We don't know. They just stopped showing up at Korea. And they got replaced by the Nine Tails. So. There's another question here. Question, do you think we will have a binary star system with planetary systems around both stars? Yes. Let me look up. There is one. There's a couple. There's two, Bacchus and Baker. Oh, no. DOS system's binary? It is a binary star. Ooh. There are currently 5 binary star systems in the Star Citizen lore. One's a Banu system, one's a Xi'an system, one I think is a empty system, one's a protected system, and one of them is, I think, yeah, 2 of them are protected systems. The most famous one is Baker. The Baker system has binary stars and has got planets all over those stars, and they are all insanely weird. Acid rain that can eat through titanium, like smog planets, which will like choke out your intakes. It's so many crazy stuff. Does Patreon cover both channels? No, the current Patreon only covers the Astro Historian, but it'll cover me for both. Right now, there's really no benefits to being a Patreon for this, but it will help me pay for this, Rolanders, if that makes sense. It all comes into the same pot, but it's mostly dedicated towards lore stuff. Ninetales are a false flag perpetrated by Agent Dooley to bolster the argument in favor of the CD, possibly. Apparently, there is some spicy threads in the Siege of Orison event talking about funding ops and stuff. Good to know. Wouldn't be surprised if there's more stuff out there. I wouldn't be surprised if they're being funded by opposing syndicates as well. We know there are multiple different syndicates. Even though the Atoni syndicate is by far the largest and most wide-reaching, there's definitely other syndicates that exist. I believe Ninetales was funded by Aegis so that they can sell more Idrises and Javelins to the UEN. I do like the comparison that there are Al-Qaeda. It's like, yeah, you can see that. How about Drake? What about Drake? Wouldn't be surprised if it was funded by Xi'an to keep Stanton on high on the UEN radar. It's more likely that they just have other funding sources. He said pot. Good idea. I think I'll partake. Same thing. The goal of the Patreon was originally set aside for people who wanted the lore content. The lore content's still happening, and you can still get all the content from here. In fact, I probably won't even do memberships for here, though I might. Do we know if there's a link between Ninetales and Xenothreat? No. In fact, if anything, they hate each other. They're very much on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Because the number one way that Ninetales makes money, as far as we know, is drugs. And what's the number one way that the Xenothreat makes money? Drugs. So they're competitors. Rick is supplying militias held the defense against the Aegis threat. Exactly. Do you think we're going to have some weather mechanics? Eventually. I mean, there's definitely seems to be some references to it. I don't think CIG will rest until they can get rain on ArcCorp. I seem to remember a mention of a bear comment in Stanton based on dispatch on the ICC. Can you confirm this? No, I don't know. I don't think so. It may be very old. I remember there was something mentioned of that with like 2.0 possibly. But what are some of the most extreme planets you think CIG will struggle to put into the game? Water planets are probably going to be a big one for them. They kind of already have an ice world. Jungles will probably be pretty difficult for them to master. Now, obviously, the CryEngine was built to handle jungles. The first Crisis used jungles pretty well. It's very difficult to beat the Crisis jungles, honestly, even today. But on a planetary scale, it's going to be rough. Lava planets or any kind of molten planets will probably definitely be an issue. And any kind of, especially like acid, anything that would like acidic or smog type planets, what they call them, the Venusian type planets will be difficult because of how do you render like the damage to your ship because the atmosphere exists. So I mean, a forecast system for Moby Glass ships where you approach some planet for sure. I'm sure that'll happen at some point. We'll probably more likely see full-blown storms integrated from sandstorms to rainstorms to snowstorms, to hurricanes, tornadoes. We'll see those implemented before we get any kind of warning system. You know if we have other ships? You know what other ships the Banu have outside the Defender and the Merchantman? None yet that we've heard in lore. There's no references to them. Because the Banu kind of take any ship they can get. Flat rolling planes. That's going to be more difficult than you think. Because it's not just difficult to do, it's difficult to do right. Is it a comet shaped like a bear or a bear shaped like a comet? Good question. I don't know. Grass seas, yeah. Like the wind blowing on the grass seas would be kind of cool. Xeno threat? I've never even seen an alien. Ergo is a water world. Yes, there are a couple of worlds out there which are close to that. Hey, Draconics, how you doing? Question. Do you think there's any planets CIG will just straight up not do? Earth. They'll do Earth, but not in the way you think. I think they will restrict heavily where you can and cannot fly in Earth. And a lot of people aren't going to like it. I've already seen people complain that the scale of the planets is too big or too small in Star Citizen. It needs to be 1-to-1. My answer to that is no. No, you don't want it to be 1-to-1 because making this more sim is going to make it even worse. A lot more difficult. Are there any systems with unique stars, like neutron stars similar? Yeah, there's a couple of different versions like that. There's red giants that are all the CIG does a good job of catching most of the different types of stars that exist, even a black hole system that exist in reality. So they have an astronomer, or an astrophysicist, I think someone who has an astronomy background on the team. And they also have some advisors that they turn to, and they ask them a lot of questions about some of the stuff. They kind of help them suss out the. Yeah, there is a black hole system. There is also a neutron star system. Do the Xi'an have exploration ships in lore, or does their war make them reluctant to venture out of space? There's no mention of Xi'an exploration ships, but I'm sure they have them. There may be references that I haven't seen, but I would assume that the Xi'an have every type of ship that humans have, and so. Pyro's a pulsar? Last I checked, it was not, but it might be. Things have changed with Pyro dramatically in the last couple of years. We only really got the last year or so, we've got the updated lore. Agreed. I've had so many issues with bugs in 317.1 and death that's taking a break until 317.2. Yes. There's definitely going to be some. There's definitely been some issues with 317.1, which is the reason why I've been doing my Zero to Hero runs, because I find they're just fun, more fun, and less aggravating. Yeah, I don't think it was a pulsar. Pulsars are like lighthouses. Yes, that's also changed though. Pyro's system is a desolate, lifeless star system crippled by prolonged nova phase. They've changed that lore because you got to remember that a lot of the lore for a lot of the dead systems existed before you could land on planets. Because they were expecting a system more similar to Freelancer than No Man's Sky. But they managed to get the planetary tech working a lot earlier, so they've had to go back and relook at some of the lore. So a lot of the lore for Pyro has changed dramatically. I would also expect the lore for all of the systems to change just a little bit. Make them less desolate and more habitable slightly. They have no problem with making desolate systems or desolate planets, because they already have, but they don't want to make everything desolate barren rocks. Especially since Pyro being a desolate barren rock makes it so that no one wants to be there. A binary planet, Pyro 4 and 5 is binary planet plus 6 moons. Yep, 4 is orbiting 5, and 5 has 6 moons. Question, did you already look up the SEL and talk about the roundup? I have not done the SEL yet. We'll do the not SEL. You mean ISC. We'll be talking about ISC here shortly. Oh, you didn't talk about the roundup. Big takeaways. Sad news for if you're a whole gang, an Orion gang, or the Starliner gang. Big news if you're an Apollo gang, if you enjoy bounty hunting, FPS combat, and more AI, dynamic AI stuff, because there's some cool stuff coming along the way. I did do it as a capsule Kale, so I'll put that out on the new channel here probably Saturday. The new general cadence is going to be, I'll try to release a video every 2 days. But the eventual cadence when we slow down will be every 3 days. So generally speaking, sometimes it'll be a little bit shorter, sometimes it'll be longer, depending on what it is. So like, this will be out, and then on Saturday, I'll release a video for a capsule, and then on next Monday, I'll release on that Monday, I'll release the Star Citizen, the Captain's Table, and then on that Wednesday, I'll release a Captain's Table, and then we'll do it again on Thursday. And then eventually, I'll slow it down to about 3. Well, welcome, Kale. Good to see you here. Would you like to see a world builder type ship as in a terraforming a planet? Yeah, I'd love to see something like that, but I don't think they're quite there yet. Because terraforming takes a long time. So, question: are there some major features CIG will not tell us about and simply wait for us to run into them as much like Elite with their aliens? Probably, possibly, but not yet. CIG just can't shut the fuck up about the stuff they want to work on. They still need to release the mining spider. They do. The Cygnus. It's a lot easier to add desolate systems with very few points of interest when you're adding the 10th or 12th system than you're adding the 2nd. Yeah, that's a good point as well. Question, could they use that single hot moon from Hurston as a template for smog planets? They probably will, but the smog planets are going to be a little bit more. I think that's the fart moon. Like, I want to say Magda. Might be Ita. I can't remember which one it is. I know what you're talking about. With modifications. Obviously with modifications, yeah. Cool, I'm already subbed to the new channel. Look for it tomorrow. Also, awesome name slip. Thanks for the heads up. Kyle Katarn, yeah. I got the joke. Kale Katarn, I get it. You know Kyle Katarn and who that is? Fart moon delicious, you know it. Aberdeen, thank you. Aberdeen's fart moon. It's fart moon because if you look at it, it's got this like sulfuric like atmosphere around it. It's all yellow. Looks like a fart. Looks like if the moon was made of farts. Fart moon. That's a little more of the screen. Hey, thank you all for joining us. I would like to remind you in Twitch chat that change this real quickly. No, I have a YouTube count. You know? For those of you who are watching us live on Twitch, there's a link to our new YouTube channel. I've split the YouTube channel into 2 separate channels. One dedicated to Captain's Table, Office Hours, capsules, all of that kind of content that you're used to. Stuff that I usually capture live here on Twitch and on YouTube. And the other channel, the old channel, is now called The Astro Historian, where all of my lore stuff is going to live from now until the end of time. That does not mean you can't ask questions here for lore. You still can. I'm still here live. It's just more live content and pre-recorded content. It doesn't really mix, especially if they're like, my live content tends to be hours long. Whereas my pre-recorded content is like at minimum 5-6 minutes and at maximum in 40 minutes to an hour. So our Aberdeen's the Fart Moon, very antiquated with its look because of all the cave boundaries have been running. Okay. Question, are there any cave-dwelling creatures in lore? I can't wait to poop my pants while cave mining. Rantas. Rantas are isopods. If you've never heard of an isopod, you've seen them. I guarantee it. They go by many different names. Pillbugs, roly-polies. I've heard a couple of different new names from various parts of England alone. Are you still our Lord Daddy? I'm still your Lord Daddy. Oh, I didn't see the neighbor question. Sorry about that. Was there an order that humanity met all the different sapiens? Did we meet them all at once? What do you mean? Bear. I'm confused about that question. When me and my wife started dating, I told her you could light your farts. She didn't believe me. Well, I showed her. She cried laughing. The rest is history. That's the reason why you got married, is because you lit your farts on fire. Oh, we met the Banu, then the Xi'an, then the Tavar, and then the Vandul. That was the order we met. Banu was our first contact, and we nearly fucked it up. Vernon Tar, a nav jumper, was looking for a new jump point, and he saw a ship, and he thought that the ship was honing in on his jump point. So he took a shot at it because, as was customary at the time, people like to steal claims all the time. He'd been tracking down a jump point that he knew existed in that area for a while. He shot at it, missed, and then instantly realized that was not a human ship. Then contacted the UN. He was like, hey, there's an alien right in front of me. And I mean alien as in, we are here to see your people sort of thing. Nanu, live long and prosper. That kind of alien. They showed up. The they translated, to try to translate his speech, they called him Jerry, was his nickname. And after a few days of talking with Jerry, a Banu fleet showed up. Or it was like a week or so, a Banu fleet showed up. Took about almost a month to translate. And the first thing that once they had translated all of the Banu language was, the Banu were like, let's sign a trade deal. So the Banu was like, all right. And sign a trade deal. Turns out that Vernon Tar, yes, was a shitbag. Shouldn't have done what he did. But the Banu he shot at, Jerry, was also a shitbag who was running away from his Suli. He was trying to escape his Suli. Though he was breaking the law, he had broken his contract. And stumbled into a jump point that hadn't been charted. Later, Space Goat. Thanks for watching. Was he from Space Texas? No. Needless to say, Vernon Tar became the most famous man in history next to Nick Croshaw for a while, and Jerry became a very, very rich Banu. I was wondering how the Banu poop, because I was thinking, ain't a hot tub and Banu merchantmen. I don't know if they have waste like we do. The Banu are a very alien species. Question, what are popular tabletop games like poker and lore that players might get into play? One of them is a game I invented. That's my one claim to fame, which is, I think, technically in lore, which is called Gosh, I forgot the name of it now. It's called Stellar something. I think it might be just called Stellar. But there is a name. Not Stellaris. It's just like Stella. Hold on, I'll be right back. I know what it is. Be right back. I think it's called Trigger. I don't remember his name. It's been a long time, Silky. It's been a very long time. But it's called Trigger, I believe. Look up the lore makers. Trying to find. I'll find the post. I'll find it. Go to link. Lore Builder. Ah, from Berserker 01. Stellar. I called it right. Stellar. The second group of suggestions, I'll post a link. I'm Berserker01. Remember, that was my name before I changed everything. Oh, we had Raiders. Hey, Atomic. Welcome, everyone, from Atomic's stream. Welcome to the Office Hours. This is a live Q&A session. We just kind of hang out and talk about Star Citizen a little bit. Welcome here, everybody. Sorry, I was trying to find something. Thank you for getting that link. How you doing there, Atomic? Come this Saturday, because we'll be doing some... the finale of season 1, possibly more seasons, of Shadows of Aquila, which is our Warhammer 40k Wrath and Glory tabletop RPG game, which set in the 40k universe. If you like that, the finale of this current quest series that this inquisitorial group is going is happening up there. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be after the fact. The link will be up there to that. The channel, The Spice Must Roll on YouTube, to watch those again. It's pretty fun. I've been crafting it for a bit, so it's cool. But yeah, so that's that link I just posted. That is one of my claim to fame. I helped make the lore. But Trigger is the main card game that they play. I'm sorry, that's a long way of saying, hey, what were the things that existed? What's recreational existence happened in Star Citizen that's like poker? It's called Trigger. That's the one we have for sure. Banu supposedly wears special undersuits that absorb their bodily waste, so my guess is that it's just sort of passively secrete most of the unoffensive substances like coral. That's another reason. I remember that. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I thought coral was the basis for their anatomy, was because they just kind of passively excrete things. So that makes sense. Jordan, there you go. Jordan, I don't know if you're on YouTube. If you asked that question, there's that link I posted there. Check it out. That has a bunch of those. I think the finale for free time. Made by Kin Shadow, another local Austinite. Hey, these are the kind of things that get me enjoying life. I'm a teacher. I love questions. We don't joke when we say, please ask us questions to our kids, because we really like questions, answering questions. Feel free, Draconics. Since they did away with the forums, now Spectrum, it was lost, but I found the game rules. Yeah, feel free. There we go. That like card dice game. Back in the day. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. In fact, let's move over to the Reclaimer Rec. Ooh.
And fun for the player.
Very loud. Let's take a look at this. We'll talk a little bit about it.
As the team, we will always wanted to make the derelict more enjoyable and fun for the player. The new addition of the planetary nav mesh make like designer able to put life on the location.
Before it was just kind of a ship just there on the ground, but what we wanted to do is to create a link between the ship and environment around.
We decided to make them more like a settlement, to have like more story around them.
It's like walking in the woods and just sometimes you just found an old car just all rusty there with the leaves and the trees all around. That's the kind of feeling we wanted to do with the derelicts.
For us designer, a lot of opportunity to make the location more FPS friendly with cover, more like mission friendly, so we can add stuff on top of that.
When you will arrive at the crash, you will see
Derelict,
a big trail on the ground. So if you look behind the ship, you will see all the big tree, but in the trail, all the trees will be small, and we're going to have just small rocks and grass, and it's the purpose the ship was there. When you go back in the ship, because you will be able to go back in the ship, you will rediscover the ship as you were before, but in an older version. That tell a lot of story about the old technology, kind of giving a second life to the ship.
Hey, Pyro Ralph, that's fine. Watching the upload after the fact is fine. Doing the live thing is just mostly for, people who want to hang out live and ask questions. So either way, it's fine. I'm glad that you watch. Please do make sure you subscribe and enjoy it. It's a hell of a memory footprint. Yeah, it's pretty cool. This looks pretty cool. The first thing when I saw this was, this looks like Far Cry. Like, this is Far Cry.
We got an update on the planetary nav mesh now on the planet, so we are allowed to put AI on the ground.
Putting NPC in this location that are park air, trying to take the best of the location, scavenging for resources.
Yeah. I say that, why? Because these people made Far Cry. Because that's what the Montreal team did. They're very good at this. But yeah, this Montreal team, whatever they put, we need to start feeding poutine to the rest of the CIG staff. Maybe they'll work faster. It's a joke, but in reality, this is what happens when you have a team that's dedicated to the PU. The Montreal team is dedicated to building more assets for the PU. The other teams build out things like big gameplay elements, like they'll build out like what bounty hunting is. But the Montreal team will build like the 7,000 different stables, like templates for bounty hunting that might exist, and then help diversify it and those sorts of things. So whereas the rest of the teams are building the game, Montreal focuses on building the content inside the game rather than the gameplay itself.
So when you will arrive there, you will feel then some people living there since a long time. That's going
Captain Richard. Welcome everyone from Captain Richard's stream. My name is Paul Berserker01, Batman Show, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub. Welcome to the office hours. Let's get some shots and cheers in chat for these wonderful, wonderful raiders. They're bringing the party. Let's get them some booze. And another round of beers, courtesy of Robert Voss. I can see that, or Fallout, yeah. Great. It reminds me of the crashed, the crashed plane in Fallout 4. Just so you all know who are joining us, I do Star Citizen content weekly, all the time. I do Star Citizen lore, I do Star Citizen gameplay streams, discussion stuff, all sorts of things. So make sure you hit that follow button if you're on Twitch. And if you're on Twitch, ! YouTube to get my brand new YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/TheAstroPubLive. Join us there. I've split my content because I used to do them all on one channel. Now I have my lore channel and my YouTube channel for Star Citizen content. So join us there as well. Make sure you watch that. So, no, Montreal are the real MVPs for those of us who actually play the game here and now. Yeah, exactly. If you're a person who's really into playing the game right now and not like waiting for some distant future, Montreal is the team that's kind of making it more playable. How you doing, Richard, though? How was your stream? When I start speaking more quietly, I can turn down the gate a little bit. There we go. That should be a little bit better, especially when I'm speaking a little bit quieter. All right.
It give you a feeling that all that place around is just kind of habitated by some people. The mission we're going to do on those ships.
This one? This is one I've been using for. It's called Cantable. It's the thing that I was downloaded to try to give myself some EQ and comps and gates and everything else like that. This feeds into my software systems. It's stuff that you'd have if you had a physical mixer, but I don't.
If it's a hostile mission, we're going to have some kind of faction there. He's living there. We'll just take control of the ship. And it's not an hostile mission. There's going to be a different kind of faction.
We see all the feedback we receive on January when we start like showing the concept of the derelict settlement.
This looks so cool.
With the EI team for the planetary nav mesh and all the team in Turbulent, we was able to like create a habitation module. We have tools now.
I have to jet though. I do got to jet though. So please do have fun tonight. Catch early trip. Have a good day. Enjoy your have a good night. Enjoy your road trip with your father. Captain Richard. I got to get you into the Captain Stable sometime in July. I know Execute wanted to come hang out with you in the Captain Stable, so just let me know. I can make some time aside for you as well if you need be. It doesn't have to be a Saturday. Have a good night, though.
So
welcome, buddy.
We'll
take care of you.
And procedurally place all this work on the planet. It's just the beginning of the long-term plan that we have in mind to populate and add more and more location in the PU.
And I'm super proud of my team to doing that with the design team, the art team. We work super hard, pretty proud of it, and I'm sure that people will enjoy it. Thanks, guys.
The new inhabited derelict settlement for 3.17.2 is not the only one that will be present in this patch. We will let the player discover them and find them in the universe.
That's hard to say, because I've heard people ask, does that mean that they're going to be more of these in this patch? That's what it sounded like. It sounded like there's going to be more. The one that they showed off isn't the only one. So there might be multiples. That'd be interesting. Because I wasn't led to believe there's only one. There could be more. Yeah, but he could also be referencing the orbital wrecks, which are not the same as these settlements. So.
The crashed reclaimer derelict settlements are just one of the new mission-enabled, gameplay-focused environments from Turbulent arriving in the upcoming Alpha 3.17.2. And we encourage you to explore the Stanton system and find additional ones on your own. Hint, some of them are still floating out in space. And when you're done exploring, the fine citizens of Orizen will need your help when the newest dynamic event pits the dreaded Ninetails against Crusaders' security forces. Now, while we'd prefer you discover most of the details for yourself on the PTU and live servers, we do have a brief introduction to perhaps the biggest and most elaborate mission in Star Citizen yet.
There we go. All right. I'm not going to talk about that a little bit because I just wanted to talk more about the Reclaimers because it is in the title. So, yeah, that's a pretty big deal. Like, the Reclaimer derelicts are big because if y'all remember, we first heard about the Reclaimer derelicts in January or February. And as Jared likes to point out, yeah, we heard about them in January and February. And they're being released in less than 6 months. Because people are like, oh, yeah, these are nice, but we won't see them for another year. And it's like, yep, 6 months. Just shows you how fast things can turn around. So that's big. Because if they got that done, the other ones that they were working on is the MSR Rex and the... what was the other one? No, it was the MSR. Was it an 890 Rec? Or was it a 600 Rec? No, the ending part is great. Oh, but for those of you who are wondering as well, this is the state that they're on for the building. Remember, only a couple of weeks ago, this whole area was open because they hadn't built up the walls. Now they're laying cable and building up the walls, which means they're fairly well clipped along. I wouldn't be surprised if by August, I think Ulf said by August, September, they're going to be in the new studio. So. They're laying cable, yes. That would be a white box face. Yeah, they've moved away from concept and into white box. 600 Eyes, the other one. Yes, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw those before the end of the year. Well, so I want to see them drop the work on the Genesis for now. Sad to see them work on Genesis. Yeah, I get why though. Like the reason why they drop the work on those sorts of things is like we know they're working on the whole C. The whole B is probably the biggest sad because I'm sure it's going to require a work similar to the A in terms of it's so different from the C, the D, and the E that it's got to, and different from the A that it's got to be its own kind of unique thing. But they need the C for Squadron, so that's another reason it's there. But there's just not enough places or distances to go to make sense for an E, a D, or an E to get done, and there's probably not enough to really justify a B yet. So it makes sense to delay those a year or so because we won't have that kind of stuff until Pyro is out, and Pyro's not coming out until at the very earliest, the end of this year, and that's even to Evocati. We're not going to see it until at the ambitious date of spring of next year. So. But the same thing goes with the Genesis. There's no reason to have a 747 passenger liner when you don't have passenger liner gameplay. You know, that's probably not going to be done until the end of the year. In the meantime, though, they moved up the work on the Apollo. For those of you who didn't know, that's the little thing that Tree 0311 pointed out to me was that the Apollo is been moved up a little bit for its work. And the Orion, it's the Orion. It's just there's just no gameplay for the Orion. Any speculations on what we see at CitizenCon? Bare minimum. I think CitizenCon will be great for nerds like me who are like, oh, they talked about this in lore, or they're talking about this very specific feature, but it's not going to be anything that is going to wow or surprise a lot of folks because they're not even doing a, what is it called? Showcase? I forget what the name of it is. There's something they call specifically like the gameplay demo. They're not going to do that this year. The keynote. Thank you, Tharsh. I knew you were going to do it. I knew that, but the keynote is not available. Will you change your background once Pyro come out? Maybe to Magnus, possibly. This was made by a fan and a viewer, so if I do, I'll have to ask them to. I'll have to pay them to do another one. But it looks good. I like it, especially if you look closely at these. Get this into higher resolution, you can see the names of Smuggling 101, the Galactic Historian. There's like a little, like this little thing right here that's got an AstroPub logo on it, the old AstroPub logo. So it's not accurate anymore. It's still accurate. The Galactic Historian videos still exist. It's just now changed its name. Meh note, yeah. Yeah, because we don't have any more keynotes. It's probably not going to. We're not going to see stuff like that. So it is what it is. But I do expect that the gameplay will matter more by CitizenCon than anything else, because I'm fairly certain that 3.18 will be released at or around CitizenCon. Why no keynote? Because the people who would be normally making the keynote will be heads down on working on Pyro and server meshing and that kind of thing. Yes, it did, G-Sharp. My name changed, so you should be hitting exclamation point YouTube, because what has happened, for those of you who have been here and don't know about my content, I have split my YouTube channels into two. Like a slime, they've been hit and now they split into two. Mostly because the algorithm was not very friendly with the content that I was making before. The algorithm effectively, let me turn this down a little bit. The algorithm was effectively burying videos before they could be put out, or before they could get caught up, because I was releasing them too fast. I heard a lot of people go, oh, you're doing two channels now, Paul. That means you're going to have to make more content. And the answer is no, I'm doing two channels because I make too much content. So splitting the channels will help me kind of both of those channels grow a little bit more evenly, but the content's still going to be there. I'm just going to work on a dropping schedule for it. So I should add that in Gleam. Thank you, Fat Docs. That's a good point. I'll do it for the next month, because we're coming up in the last week for for this one. So the next one I'll do that. So yeah, Make sure you're subscribed to the new TheAstroPub YouTube, which is youtube.com/c/TheAstroPubLive. The old one, if you're subscribed there, don't worry. It's still there. It's now called The Astro Historian, and it's where all of my lore content will be. Does it still work with youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive? Because I thought that was a legacy feature. Astro OnlyFans, yes, that's where my ASMR and cooking channels will be. It was the OnlyFans. Question. Have they ever said in lore how small the smallest astronomical object is that you can land on, and what system? No, they haven't. That'd be interesting to find out, though. They gave us a new word for the Banu nappies. They gave us a new word for Banu nappies. Best citizen con ever. The Astro Tub, where the tub streams go. Question. Will we ever see the ship-specific missions in PU, possibly with the release of the Banu Merchantman? How long until we see real depth with the reputation that's tying in with more specialist roles? The ship-specific, I don't think you'll ever see ship-specific. I think you will see specific missions which will require ships, but they'll never say you have to have, say, the Starliner to work this or the Reclaimer to work this. They'll just say salvage this much material, or mine this much material, or transport this many people. But in terms of having the reputation, they have to finish the reputation system, which last we heard was getting its major overhaul throughout this year in the back end. With the whole goal is by the end of this year that like Ninetails will not attack you if you have a good reputation with them, or they will show up and help you if you have a good reputation with them. That's the initial goal. The step after that is to have the reputation start to affect your abilities and where you're going and stuff like that. That's probably the pyro hatch. And I would expect that at the earliest 4.0, but probably more like next year. 9 out of 10 lorists recommend the AstroPub. Astro Paste. Vandal OnlyFans. Still waiting on your collab with How to Drink on the cocktails for Star Citizen. I mean, I'll probably do it with Jake at some point, because Jake is the mixologist, not me. I'll sit down and I'll do videos with him. Discussion, casual conversations with the community team. At some point in the distant future. The AstroPub, what's the most exotic plant in Star Citizen lore? What's the strange climate with a strange climate claim? That's a good question. There's a redder plant. There we go. Revenant tree sap. Okay. So, the Revenant tree is able to quickly adapt to Hyperion's wind patterns and dry soil. Inspired by what they're drinking, Edward recounted the ancient Pyrofloxia aphid plague that threatened Earth's vineyards. Entomologists figured that they could graft aphid-resistant rootstock to the bottom of the susceptible vines and to avoid the deadly bug. They're wondering if some of those things could work for Hyperion. In fact, figuring out to graft roots with indigenous plants is a common, could be opened up in numerous. They're surprised. They're one of the 16 projects selected for receiving funding. So the Hyperion tree, or the Revenant tree, is able to grow anywhere. And what they've done is Rayari has a bunch of crazy plants. So not naturally, but Rayari, basically all of the plants you see in Microtech, inside Microtech, they're all genetically created by Rayari. So. Or misread question? No, Exneer, what's the most exotic? Oh, planet. Oh, sorry. I was talking about planet. I was like, it's a really cool idea. Most exotic planet in lore. Yar is cool. Yar is cool as shit. It's nothing but red sands. Question, what happened to the system who's closed? Oh, gosh. Oratani. So, Oratani was the system that was lost. Could we see them reappear later in the lore game? Yes. The Oratani system could show up again. We do know that there was a semi-self-sufficient group of colonists in the Oratani system when this jump point closed, and there was been no other discovered jump points. We could find other jump points leading to the Oratani system, which would add its own kind of event and stuff. Question, do you think CIG would benefit less from less systems at release and adding more free updates after full release? 100%. I think CIG will do a 1.0 release, but they won't call it a 1.0 release once they have about 5 or 6 systems in the game. Because it makes more sense to just kind of build the game out and then just add content as they go. Eventually, they will reach the amount that they need. That's going to take years. So they'll probably just do what I call a soft launch. They'll do a beta, and they'll never take it out of beta until they get to that right number. But effectively, they'll stop wiping, and they won't say it's launched, but it's launched. It's kind of what happened with Warframe. Warframe did the same thing. Yeah, I was down with the plant. Yeah. There's some cool stuff, though. There's some cool plant lore. Plant lore is deep. Deep. There is some deep plant lore in Star Citizen. 100%. It's also likely, and I think I remember it, but I don't have the 100% that the Boreal Stalker was created by Rayari. Question, I may have missed it, but there's any more information about scanning room for the AMAstar? Nothing yet. They haven't. They're still working on the new long range scanning suites, but I think that's all going to Squadron first. Plant lore has roots. Screaming mushrooms? I want to say so, yes. There's some plant that exists in Redder. That may be the screaming, like a screaming plant or something like that. Any man-eating plants I can accidentally push my brother into? The pyro crabs. They're more like man-eating rocks, though. I see him answering correct chat. Is he also live on another platform? Yes, YouTube. Exclamation point YouTube if you want to join us there as well. definitely on the lower end of views. Then again, I'm used to having like dang near 100 people watching, so it's a bit of a drop from 100 to 19. But again, new YouTube channel, so what's going to happen. Question: what's the most terrifying place in lore? Terrifying for me? Baker. The entire Baker system is terrifying. The Tamsa is pretty terrifying. It's a black hole. Like, never fear, I'm here. Hey, thank you, Draconics. Am I frozen? No. Okay. Opera mushers, artificially create engineered fungus. Thank you. Yeah. Is there any interesting event that happened in lore involving a normal citizen in the verse that got caught up into something major, other than like Vermin and Tar? Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff like that. Locke. I want to say her name was Rebecca Locke. Look her up real quick. Rachel Locke. So during the invasion of Idris, the Idris system, in the First Tavaran War, Idris IV fell to the Tavaran. And when this happened, most of the population fled before they actually took the planet, but a few hundred stayed, and one was named Rachel Locke. She had no military training and was a local, but managed to organize the survivors who fled to the mountains into a fighting force and use them as guerrillas against the Tavaran while they were trying to establish bases. In fact, the reason why we had the Battle of Tavaran 4 was because Rachel Locke was able to send out information that her and her rebels were gathering from the local Tavaran buildups back to the UEE. And as a result of her heroism, they actually named the planet Locke after her. Will we ever get casinos in game? Sorry, new to the channel, but I see you tagged at LGBTQA, and I've been referring to you as a he. I am he. Yeah, he, she. No, he, him is my pronouns. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you for asking. I should probably put it in there as that, but I'm just pan. So I like to put myself out there like that, but thank you for asking. What are my adjectives? Tired and angry. Yeah, the gambling thing is iffy because gambling is not legal in every place and you don't want to get regulated. I don't think there's anything that stops you from gambling, but it's a slippery slope. It's a very slippery slope, especially since you can buy in-game cash with real cash. I don't know if they can still do that. You used to be able to do it. Why is Evangelion so depressing? Because the guy who wrote it was in a really, really bad headspace when he wrote it. The most of the team from Gainax were kind of in a slump. For those of you who don't know, Evangelion's an anime. But they actually tried to produce a series before Evangelion, and it flopped. It just face planted into the dirt and did nothing. So Evangelion was their rebound project, and they were really hoping for it to take off. So all of them were really pissed off. Most of them were depressed. They didn't have much to go for, so they made Evangelion. Always tired, always angry. Yep. All right. We're coming up on 3 hours here. Sounds like you need to visit the coffee vendor. I am running out of juice. My energy is depleting, and we're coming up to the 3 hour mark. And I try not to do these for very long. I try to keep them between around 2 hours at maximum 3. Shall we continue with IC? Yeah, let's finish up with IC and then see where we can go.
The most elaborate mission in Star Citizen yet.
Siege of Orison is an event where we take away all of your most overpowered toys, which are your ships. You actually have to use your reactions.
Before that, I've seen a lot of arguing on Reddit about alien races, whether they should be playable. It breaks immersion with their created language. What are your thoughts? They're fine. It's fine. It's not immersion breaking. It's not like the Xi'an don't speak English. And on top of that, we don't actually speak English. We speak UEE Common, which right now is English, but I'm sure they'll have language packs where that will eventually be French or German or whatever. So in theory, like what we're actually speaking isn't and reading isn't English. It's a completely different language, but they don't want to make a completely different language because they want to have it accessible for players. So it's fine. And I think playable alien races is not something they'll do until well after release. So it's something so far away. It's like, poof.
And your guns and your teammates to hopefully survive this perilous encounter.
We wanted to do what for FPS combat we did for ship combat with Xenothreat. Push it to its extremes. So without spoiling the event, the Siege of Horizon is a dynamic event which takes place around Horizon on some floating platforms owned by Crusader, and we shuttle players in to help out Crusader take back their islands.
When we was making the mission, we wanted to, first of all, we wanted to make a fun mission that pulled people in together to play together, experience something they might not have normally.
In most missions you go up against 10 AI and you really don't get challenged.
A lot of our missions do a lot of hand-holding where we mark everything for the player, and they can sort of disengage to a level and just like walk to a marker and presume the rest of it.
Stop it, CIG. Get some help. Stop doing that. Let's do it. Let's figure it out on our own.
This one I wanted to kind of go, right, here's no markers. Now think and try figure it out for yourself.
The event is primarily a PvE mission. There are systems in place to discourage PvP.
It's not something we protect against because we want the players to protect themselves from it. We're not discouraging it, but we're not actively supporting it yet.
There's a lot of new spaces we've made for Horizon, and working with design on the block out and still making sure it's all in keeping with what Horizon is. We looked at expanding the visual library of Horizon. What we really liked was the contrast of this kind of idyllic, relaxing garden platforms floating around and this kind of battle-scarred, damage and things like that adding to them. So it was a lovely kind of contrast to put in.
We don't normally have content of this scale.
The main challenge or the main challenges were performance. by moving it far enough away from like the center, the city of Horizon, we managed to avoid most of that.
You know, having this here helped to improve and push performance because we found issues and we was able to quickly fix them. The experience I hope players get is enjoyment. Mostly, I want players to feel fun and create like emergent stories with their friends.
By the way, y'all, what you're just seeing is one platform. There are 4 of them. I did not stutter. I did not hesitate when I said, there are 4 of those things that size. It's fucking huge.
That they can, you know, tell on Reddit or through videos and whatever. Just have fun, really.
I want them to see all the effort that has gone into like healing and gunplay and AI over the years that you may not notice fighting against a small amount of people.
Events in general are great because they pull people who might not play with each other together. You all feel like this comradeship trying to push forward against this enemy that you all have in common.
It's an experience unlike any other in this game.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that those fantastic derelict concepts we showcased earlier this year are already making their way to the persistent universe, and that they're coming along with new missions and gameplay made possible by the new dynamic planetary nav mesh, and that the Siege of Horizon is the next big step forward towards bringing additional gameplay to Star Citizen's existing landing zones.
He does need a haircut.
Don't forget, there are a number of contests going on for both Alien Week and our upcoming Battle of the Bricks, which will see the community teams from both Star Citizen and EVE Online come together in a live stream on July 22nd to raise money for charity. You can learn all about both of those things on the robertsspaceindustries.com website. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. This is the very noisy 9th floor of the Manchester Goods Yard building, soon to be home for our Manchester studio. And what goes in the center here, where all this noise is? It's gonna be something to see when the time comes. We'll see you all next week.
I love the end of this.
Amanda, just use whichever one of these has the least interruptions. We're not gonna get this clean.
That's so perfect.
Fish tacos.
Fish tacos. Jared, I love you. And I know it's really hot and you have no AC where you are now. But as somebody who has been living in Texas for 5 years and living in the heat, let me tell you the best thing you could do right now is trim your beard and cut your hair down as low as you want it to go. Because that's going to make you overheat all the time. Trim that down. You will feel better. Guarantee it. It's just health. Like I always try to keep shorter hair in the summer and a more trimmed beard because it's just I don't want to die of overheating. And it's like 4 times as hot here in Texas than it is in over there. It's okay to have long hair as long as you like style it and fix it up a little bit. So, yeah, I think it's like the alien discussion for sure. A playable Tavaran makes sense because we know that not only do the Tavaran live in the UEE and are part of UEE culture, but Tavaran also serve in the military, which means that all current UEE tech has to fit Tavaran as well. We know they have definitely different body structures, but you should still have, like, a Tavaran should be able to use the same weapons and the same cockpit as a UEE human, as a human would, because they're designed for this to work both ways. That's another text, and I say, leave Shaggy Jared alone. I mean, you don't say you don't believe, you don't know that that's the truth. When it gets hot and you can't control the heat, your hair's not helping. It's going to rain and be rather cool for the next week in Manchester. Nice. I live in South Georgia, and I've never made it through a summer with my hair and beard. Dude, I had a friend in college who, to pay for college, worked road crews in the summer in East Georgia, like pouring asphalt. He said it gave him the most motivation he's ever needed to get a college degree, because he didn't want to do that for a living. Any chance of getting Xylo on the captain's table? That would be fun. Maybe eventually. I would rather pull Xylo aside for something like that when he's A, not busy, and B, can talk. It's something to talk about, you know. Yeah, I'm surprised he survived. He was my size. And for those of you who don't know, like I am not at all like skinny. But he was slightly skinnier than I am now, but he was taller than me. The dude was a barrel of a man. And yeah, that's enough. I'm fluffy, yes. Trying to lose some of this fluff. I am a unit, yes. Anyone who see me in person knows I am a unit. A refrigerator unit. The key is, if you're going to have long hairs, you have to, with the heat, you have to style it. You have to take constant showers. You have to make sure that everything is like nice and manicured and put together. You know, you need to take care of it. I'm not saying Jared doesn't take care of it. I'm just saying, like, you need to take care of it constantly, much more fastidiously, much more consciously, in order to it not to be a giant heat like a radiator on your brain. It could be like a Carrick thing. What do you mean there, Darth Tux? Oh, the reason for the hair? No, he just hasn't cut his hair yet. I'm sure he's still trying to figure out where everything is. Suddenly a bunch of people showed up again. Hello, everybody. I mean, that was pretty much all the topics I had to cover. Y'all have questions, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer. This week was a fairly okay week for information. I think we're supposed to get... let me look at the Twisk. I believe they said something about, in this week of Star Citizen, about... There it is. Jump point. Getting a jump point tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. Jump points are always good because, for those of you who don't know, the last article and most of the jump points are usually lore articles of some kind. So if anyone new to Star Citizen Project, I highly recommend watching the 2016 holiday special on Star Citizen YouTube. You'll literally laugh out loud, and you probably spill your drink as you spill over your keyboard. I plan on doing a watch along this year live on YouTube for anybody who wants to join us. It won't be categorized. We're going to be heavily drinking. But if you want to join us of this holiday, we will be watching the 2016 holiday special. It is 100% Star Wars holiday special level of cringe and terrible. It is fantastic. Do we or will we have any huge ground vehicles capable of storing snub ships and acting as a mobile ground base? That's hard to tell because the problem is any huge vehicles like that would need to be transported. So you would need to have an equally huge vehicle to transport that, which we don't quite have. I would hope that we do eventually, just because the UEE army needs a thing to do. And right now they just kind of are the Navy without, or like the Marines, but worse. So let's hope that happens. What a legendary crumb of Star Citizen history. It was so legendary they removed it from YouTube. It's still available from re-uploads, but last I saw it was completely removed from YouTube by CIG. It was that bad. It's one of the few things they've expunged from the history of their website. Question: How many new ships do you think we will get this year? Just the Corsair and the Vulture? I think just the Corsair and the Vulture. They're so focused on 3.18 and 4.0 that I think that we will have minimal ships. You have to watch it if you haven't. It is, if you're having a bad day, just remember that CIG's made like half $500 million, and they made that. They made that as a live stream. Do you know anything about the unreleased vehicle on the roadmap with just 5 teams that just finished? No, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a ground vehicle. What do you mean Hull C? The Hull C was removed from the or it's I don't think the Hull C is coming out. We might see it, but I don't think it's on the roadmap or on the release view. Do we have any modern day cars or vehicles preserved in museums and lore? Probably museums. We don't really have a lot of modern day cars. The only company that really makes anything that's similar to modern day cars is Tumbril. And will we see in the game? Possibly. I mean, they do have museums in lore, and the concept that they had was to make interesting locations where people would want to go visit, which would pull people away from the kind of hustle and bustle. Hull C was not removed from the progress tracker, no, but I think it was removed from the release view, which the release view is CIG's confirmed 100% they want to get that done. Now that's the view, because they've restricted it to just the most recent next patch, so. But I don't remember. Let me check. I don't think the release view, it's on the release view anymore. Because it was on the release view and I think it got removed off. But if there's one ship that's going to slip, it's going to be the Hull C. Uh, 318 ships and vehicles. Just the Drake Vulture. It is not on the roadmap. And let me see the progress tracker. Hull C was finished in June. So Hull C should have just been wrapped up with the EU vehicle content team. But that has more to do with it going into Squadron than it does with Star Citizen. Last I heard, the Hull C was basically just kind of sitting around a basically finished state waiting for the cargo refactor. There's nothing to buy or sell at stations but scrap. I think that requires more than the cargo refactor, though. I think that requires quantum to work. And like, there'd be no reason to have a Hull C beyond the refactor, but also like other systems. I wish they'd give us some of the older ground concept, i.e. G12 and X-Bike. I agree, 100%. That stuff should be simple for them to make. But I understand why they don't have a huge team on those, because those older concepts just aren't... they've got a lot of other things they're working on. Like, they're just reworking the physics for ground vehicles. And they just reworked the hover bikes. But I think they added the X 1, I think it was, I can't remember the name of it. The hover bike, the Origin hover bike that was added to like a progress tracker at some point. What happened to the X1? I don't know. CIG forgot about it until the 400i came out. And then they're like, all right, yeah, this is a thing that needs to be added. The only vehicle I want more than any other is the Tumble Ranger. I'm with you there, brother. I am with you there. 100%. Brothers, sisters, NBs, I want the Ranger. The Tumble Ranger. They're supposedly adjusting the commodity allocations in 318 when they give us those new kiosks and stuff, so stations may buy and sell a wider variety of stuff, so who knows, though. The biggest thing is not just that, but they also need to implement more quantum-based changes, which they might, but I would be surprised if we saw those significant changes in quantum for 318. I do believe that we will see quantum take over refining and minerals, like metals and minerals that you can mine. All of that will be controlled by the quantum system, I think, by 318, because that's the logical next step. Tony Z and has said multiple times in the past that that's the next goal, is for that to be taken over by the quantum system. And then once they have that down, then that can build the basis for all of the other materials, because everything else needs to have a baseline before you can price it. So, for instance, a Gladius is made up of certain materials that they've already charted out, but the cost of those materials will determine the cost of the Gladius. So if those materials are cheaper, it'll be cheaper to purchase a Gladius, because the Gladius won't be its components aren't as expensive, so the prices will go down. Which is one of the reasons why, like, in the future, we talk about things like dynamic economy. Ships will be different prices depending on where you're purchasing them. You go to Magnus, you're going to get some pretty cheap Drake ships, because you can discount on the shipping, you're getting it straight from the factory, so on and so forth. You're on Crusader, buying Crusader ships will be cheaper. And then having some of the kind of discounts and stuff like that. So I think that's the next step. So they also removed the Orion, so it won't be out this year either. God. The Orion is such one of those ships where I never understand. People are like, oh, well, I'm really looking forward to the Orion. I'm like, I am too, but that thing's an oil drilling platform. That thing is huge. It's designed to build, like, to break small moons, not just asteroids. It requires so many different aspects that there's no way it's going to be added to the game until after 4.0. Well after 4.0. I wouldn't expect the whole the whole D&E or the Orion or the Starliner until like the end of next year at the earliest. Probably even not even coming back to the progress tracker until then. My guess with the state of Quanta is Hull C drops not in 318, but maybe in 318.1 or 319. Chairman's letter specifically listed it off this year, so it's also possible. Based off of what the progress tracker says, I have serious doubts that we will see bounty hunting this year. Bounty hunting V2 was mentioned in the letter too, and based off of the progress tracker, I'm like, I don't know how a sprint can end in November and make it before the end of the year, especially when you're planning on releasing 4.0 Evocati in November. Thanks for hanging out, Jordan. It's been nice to have you here live. All this talk about Magnus is making me imagine Paul as Magnus the Red. I ain't no nerd. I just can't wait to see the alien creatures like the sandworm or the weird flying things they showed us in Pyro, I believe. Yeah, those are called the blind oni crabs, aka the xiphopods. They're filled with hydrogen gas, and they eat literal garbage. Should CIG put all of the alien ships on a showroom floor next week for Alien Week, plus allow you to rent them for free during this period? Possibly. They definitely got to do something. They got to do something interesting for Alien Week next year. Yeah, apparently they taste like turkey when roasted. yeah, this Alien Week was kind of a little bit of a meh. And the rest of the year, I think, is generally speaking what I would say as well, is that you're not going to see big flashy things. You'll see some solid additions and some solid gameplay stuff, but you're not going to see massive changes. I think what you see right now is what you're going to get. 318 is going to have salvage. It's going to have the cargo refactor. We'll probably see some more stuff with Quanta, but 319 probably isn't going to add much. Maybe other events. We might see by the end of this year Quanta driving the events. So, the events are created based off of what the Quanta, a certain triggering event for the Quanta, which would be nice. But I wouldn't expect beyond that. And even those are big maybes, depending on where they end up. I already have the logo info, runners. X, I have the have you seen my new logo? Here, let me show you all the new logo for the new show. That's sort of new. Decided to go simple. The Astro Historian. AH. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Easy to read at small sizes. Thank you for coming in, Informers. Execute. I don't want you to waste more time than you already have. You're literally the Lord Master of Star Citizen. Shh, Pavel, don't tell me that. Let's say those things. I'm a manly man. I'm actually kind of glad we got the concept for we got no concept for Alien Week just because the backlog feels long enough that it's already getting a bit longer. Yeah. CIG's getting better at it, but as CIG gets better at releasing ships straight to flyable, the cries of, but what about X ship? Insert ship here. That ship's been around since 2014 or 2016. Why isn't it out? Always comes up. And I get why CIG would, not focus on, say, the Orion and focus on a new ground vehicle, because new ground vehicles, are useful or can be useful in the game. They can sell right away. They can test out mechanics, and they take like half the time, or like 1/16 of the time that the freaking Orion would. It just makes no sense to release ground vehicles when you still have the X1 and the G12. It's like, or the Ranger. Like, finish these, please. Like, get these done first. They should be pretty simple, right? Oh, X, I just finished it. Like I just got that updated last night. So I hadn't been able to reach out to you. But thank you for it, dude. Sorry. My God, I was watching this 2.5 hours ago on my way home from work. You're still on. Your dedication to this project is sickening yet inspiring. Thanks, Paul. Thank you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, Rob. All right. So for those of you who don't know, and I'm gonna kind of wrap this up here, because he actually said that I actually got to wrap this up anyways. But I will say this one more time. This is a new channel that I'm on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, this is a brand new channel. If you look down at the subscribes and you see if you have not subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are building it up from scratch because it's my belief that more people like to watch stuff like this and the captain's table on a regular basis, and people have made it part of their routine. So make sure you're subscribed, because this is where that's going to be living. And when we reach 1,000 subscribers here for the AstroPub on Twitch, the AstroPub Live, then, or on Twitch, on YouTube, yeah, Twitch, YouTube, 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, we will, I'll do a giveaway. I've got a Talon LTI Talon with the special skin given to me by CIG. Thank you, CIG. I'll give that away when we reach 1,000 subscribers on the TheAstroPubLive YouTube. So because that's the big deal, when you get to the 1,000 and you have the right numbers and you have the right like watch time, then I can apply for YouTube partnership, which will then allow me to get monetization on the videos, which will help that out. So, and for those of you who are saying more lore, please, the lore videos will still be coming out on the old channel, which is now called The Astro Historian. I'm sorry again, X. But yeah, the Astro Historian, check that out. We will have a new lore video Saturday. That lore video is one that is actually one that I banked. I'm starting to bank some of these videos, which is nice. That is a video that I made back at the beginning of June. I'm so professional. I am super professional. Back at the beginning of June, that video is technically not really a lore video, but still is. There isn't any comprehensive lore on the Redeemer. And I made many challenges and promises that I would make a lore video on the Redeemer. And every time I've reached those challenges, they have not released more. So what I did back in October was for a live stream for a charity. I said if we reach this content, I will create a lore for the Redeemer that fits in with what CIG currently has talked about. So I sat down and wrote that, and then I turned that into a video. It has been available for my Patreons for the last month, and it will go live to all of you on Saturday. So that's what I'll be doing here in the near future as well, is that if you want to see certain videos early, and sometimes way early compared to the average public, I will put them on my Patreon to sit and marinate for y'all to enjoy, because you know that's good stuff. So, Astronaut Club when? That's the plan in the long term. Is the Redeemer lore someone set a dumpster on fire at the end? No, I actually take it seriously, y'all. I go into depth. I go into some deep lore depths. I make connections to actual lore events like it was my job. There's probably some mistakes I've made here and there for it, but it's fanon, and I think it's a good fanon. So hopefully you enjoyed it. I think it's like 11 minutes long. But those who are watching this video right now, we're at, for the AstroPub Live, we're at 605 as of the ending of this recording. So when we get to 1,000, we'll do that giveaway, and I'll tell you on what video that is. It'll probably be it'll almost for certain be a office hours, though I might make it a capsule where you can go enter to win that one. So thank you, Konashu. You know what brand the matches wear? You know what brand the matches wear? What matches were? Oh, ha! That's funny there, Blizzard. I get it now. I get it. What brand the matches were? I'm tired, y'all. It's good stuff. I wouldn't have bothered digging up, but the video is exciting. But the plan is also to do more a little bit differently. So the last thing I'll say before I go is that after that, I plan on releasing a lore video on Tuesday, I think. Yeah, Tuesday. Monday or Tuesday. Possibly Monday. Yeah, probably Monday. Because my goal is to release it on Mondays and Saturdays. Maybe Mondays and Thursdays. We'll see how it drops. I'm going to try to drop it at different times than I drop, captain's tables and office hours and stuff like that. So that could effectively be almost a video every day, but for both those channels. But the next concept I'm going to do is I'm going to start making video series. So the next video I'm doing is part of a 2-part series. It might end up being a 3-part series. This is a lot already. Which is about the rise and fall of Crusader Industries. We're going to talk about the founder of Crusader Industries, the context upon his life, and about how he founded Crusader, how Crusader grew to what it is today. And at the end of that video will be him retiring and passing the torch on to Kelly Kaplan, who would become the new CEO. And the second video will talk about Kelly Kaplan's career, what she did in Crusader Industries, her purchase of Crusader, the gas giant, and how over time her leadership has led down the Crusader down this path of worse and worse decisions till we reach the Siege of Orison, which is kind of this, so far, the pinnacle of screw-ups by Crusader security. So, thank you, Jabberwocky. So that's a good example. So one will end, and then it'll follow up the next week with another one. The other idea that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to start this next week. I'm going to start doing a series on every single ship from a specific manufacturer. So like next week, I'm going to do Aegis. I'm going to starting with the Retaliator. I'm going to talk about the entire history of the Retaliator. Its service in war, how it works today. And then the next video in that series will be the Gladius. And the Gladius, we'll go over the Gladius and sometimes like what it does. And then we'll do the Nautilus and so on and so forth. So every ship will get its day in the sun. Will get its own video, and it'll be a series that kind of chronicle, as a chronicle of the ships as they were released in the lore. So, I won't do the Redeemer because the Redeemer doesn't have any lore, but I'll also refer to my fanon, which I already did. Comment, this week has been very good to small content creators, it seems. My YouTube channel has grown a number of 5, and I'm under 80 members or so. Not bad. Good job. Yeah, I've seen a lot of smaller YouTubers getting a lot more content and a lot more boosts from the algorithm, especially Star Citizen content creators. I think it's because a lot of the larger YouTubers are moving away from Star Citizen, which is typical. Bigger folks come in, they'll kind of sit there for a while, and then when content dies down, they leave, and they come back again around, similar times, especially as other games come out and release and have content. And as that happens, people are still interested in the game. They're still looking for content, so they look for other creators, and they'll find the smaller creators. That's the hope. Keen to find out how Crusader and Xenothreat are linked. I am too. Reclaimer lore. Oh yeah, I don't know if there's any Reclaimer lore. I have to look it up. Maybe there will be, especially with the Reclaimer derelicts. We might see some lore at this Jump Point magazine. Who knows? All right, y'all. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight here at the AstroPub. If you enjoy yourself and you're watching this on Twitch, hit that follow button. It helps a lot. We're currently at 15,143. I want to hit 20K before the end of the year. It's possible, but if you've been enjoying my content and you haven't hit that follow button, do so. And if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome to the new AstroPub. Hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get those numbers up and try to get more people. Hopefully you enjoy this. Hopefully you'll enjoy the capsule, which will release if you are watching this live and you didn't catch the capsule. We'll talk a little bit about roadmap updates. And if you're watching this on YouTube, check us out on Twitch. We do this every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Do a variety of different content. You can check us out there live, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub. And if you're watching this on Twitch, check us out at youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive. And for your lore content, youtube.com/TheAstroHistorian. It's been a blast. Thank you all so much for hanging out and being a great audience, great chat. I'm exhausted. I will see you all tomorrow for some Zero to Hero content. And there's one other place. If you want to see gameplay stuff, if you're like, hey, I need something in the background that's just gets me through the day, youtube.com/TheAstroVods, or the AstroVod. I think it's the AstroVods. The AstroVods, which has all of my gameplay VODs that I've done for the last couple of months, So if you want to listen and watch me play a Zero to Hero account or play another game, all of those logs are just basically straight ripped and uploaded to there. So that's, if you need a 4-hour content, there you go. Like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.